of 1987. A loss of 11 yards.
Washington State wanting to go with a very quick pass. You see Tim Rosenbaugh look quick. Washington did an excellent job of covering the receivers off the line of scrimmage, not allowing that quick look-in pattern, forcing Tim Rosenbaugh to scramble, and you saw Marty Harrison run him down.
Correction, a loss of 4 on the sack by Harrison. It'll be 3rd down and 14. With the draw, Calvin short of the first down, getting up beyond the 27-yard line. Ricky Andrews made the tackle. So it's time to punt. 12-yard gain. So from the 27-yard line, they will punt. Rob Myers averaging just over 38 yards per boot. And DeMoy Williams will receive. Got the return on. Low wobbly punt. DeMoy with it on his 37. Gets to the outside. He's to midfield. Has blocking to the 40. Going outside. Down to the 20. He could go all the way with one more block. He'll do it. Touchdown, Washington. The first punt return for a touchdown in 1987. A 63-yard return.
This is something Dennis Erickson did not want to see happen. His football team has to stay in the game. They can't allow the other team to take command, take charge early, and allow the other team to gain the emotion.
Great individual effort on the part of DeMoy Williams. You see all the Cougars bunch up right there. DeMoy finds a seam, breaks it to the sideline. Then he uses his blockers. You see him using Lilo Lang. Lilo Lang does a great job on punter Rob Meyer. And then DeMoy cuts back, beating Richard Calvin, going in for a touchdown.
The boot by Brownlee is up, and it is good. We've only played a minute and a half, and Washington has jumped on the scoreboard after Brownlee's kick. It is Washington 7-0 over the Cougars.
Quality never goes out of style. There's nothing quite like Levi's jeanswear. And Fred Meyer has all the latest looks. Long wearing, classic styling, comfortable Levi's sportswear for every age, for the whole family. When you're looking for Levi's fashions, take a look at Fred Meyer.
Listen to the heartbeat of America. Listen to the heartbeat of America. Oh yeah.
It's the rhythm on the road. It's the pulse on the street. City and town, a magic sound.
Feel the heartbeat of America. Chevrolet.
That's today, Chevrolet.
A 63-yard punt return by DeMoy Williams, the starting cornerback. Sam?
And DeMoy just great effort of using his blockers, and you see the great effort by the Huskies downfield, which is why DeMoy was able to cut back and go into the end zone.
Not the first time the Cougars have had a punt return for a touchdown against them this year. That's happened on a couple of occasions previously. That's one thing Dennis Erickson wants to shore up next season, the kicking game.
And there you see Brandy Brownlee waving, trying to get the crowd going because he's missing the normal cheerleader for that kickoff team, Jay Roberts. He's academically ineligible.
Wood gets it up to the 15, trying to go outside. Mark the ball on the 22. That is the longest punt return for a touchdown in Apple Cup history. Well, check that. Longest since 1940. That's almost history.
But actually, when you mention the words Apple Cup, you're correct, Don, because officially the Apple Cup Commission's only been sponsoring the game for the past 24 matchups.
1st and 10 from the 22. 3 wide receivers, 2 to the right. Calvin, big hole. And now it's a foot race for Calvin against Lilo Lang, who had the angle and knocks him out of bounds. But first down at the Husky 49.
Something David Rill said is that Washington State is still doing a lot of the same things they did under Jim Walden.
29-yard run by Calvin, who's always had big days against the Huskies.
It's just a quick opener, that simple dive, but you see the pursuit. You see Bruce Beal get knocked off his feet, which creates a running lane for Richard Calvin. Now it's a foot race between he and Lilo Lang. Washington State needs to establish that running game.
Calvin 5th in rushing in the Pac-10. It is 1st and 10 from the 49. Rosenbach across the middle, got his man down to the 30-yard line. Elmer Thomas, the receiver, the junior out of Dallas, Texas.
Thomas, a transfer from SMU. Bruce Beal fell down on this play, Sam.
Yes, he gets Tim Rosenbaugh. They sent Steve Broussard to the sideline. Bruce Beal got caught up with that motion, and then Tim Rosenbaugh threw the slant in right behind Bruce Beal.
21-yard gain on the connection.
Just like that, they're knocking on the door.
Calvin and Thomas get them deep into Husky territory. 1st and 10 on the 28-yard line. Quarterback draw has some room, and that's one thing that Jim Lambright, the defensive coordinator for Washington, was worrying about this morning, is the containment of Rosenbach. He is his best threat. He thinks the better threat is his running ability.
That's exactly right. Last week he had 23 carries for 105 yards, and those were not designed runs. Those were scrambling, running for his life. But he's got confidence now in his running ability, and I think it might hurt his passing ability a little bit because he's now looking to run instead of throw.
He picked up 5. It's 2nd and 5. Calvin with 7 career touchdowns, 4 of those against the Huskies. 1983, he had a huge day, playing very well against the Huskies here in Husky Stadium. 3rd down and 1. He's short of the first down.
3rd down, 1 yard to go for the Cougars at the Husky 19.
The local Chamber of Commerce has not been kind to the Cougars and Huskies when they've traveled this year.
The last time the Cougars won on the road was in 1985 in Husky Stadium when they beat Washington.
And it was a freezer around here. Calvin should have the first down. Richard averaging almost 4.5 yards per carry. He gets 3 here, and it's a first down inside the 20 of Washington.
Don, you've mentioned Calvin's name a lot today. We will hear it a great many times. He became disillusioned with the Cougar football program, left school for a couple of years, got his grades up at a junior college, and re-entered school last spring. Boy, what a pleasant addition he has been for Dennis Erickson at a team which has just been decimated at the tailback and running back spot this year.
Calvin with 41 yards. It's 1st and 10 from the 16. Rosenbach got pressure. Dennis Brown gets him. Big loss back at the 22. 2nd sack of the day for the Huskies. A loss of 6 yards.
They've run a little play action pass, faking the handoff to Steve Broussard. Dennis Brown is not fooled at all. Center Paul Wolf had pulled out and tried to block Dennis Brown. Dennis just simply beat the block.
Brown now with 9 sacks in 1987. Broussard lining up on the left side. There goes Victor Wood along with him as Rosenbach waits. 3 receivers to the left side. This is something the defense is also very concerned about. The defensive coaches, how they spread it out on 2nd and 16. The shuttle pass. Broussard, good for a first down. 17-yard gain.
He saw Dave Craig do that before. He says, well, they can do it in the pros. I can do it right here.
A little shovel pass.
And Washington is playing excellent defense. They know that Washington State wants to use that quick passing game. You see them, excellent coverage, taking away the wide receivers. Then Tim, at the last minute, sees somebody free on the sideline, says, oh, here, you take it. That way I don't have to get hit.
Boy, what's Jim Lambright saying right now?
Is that legal?
That's 5 first downs for the Cougars, gentlemen. 1st and goal from the 5-yard line. Broussard goes in motion. Rosenbach still with it. May go for it. Throws. Incomplete. Broussard, the intended receiver. Referee today, Jim Springer. And it'll be 2nd and goal.
The thing that sells this play is Tim Rosenbaugh's threat. You see him really take off trying to run for the touchdown. Last minute throw it under control to Steve Broussard, but the ball had hit. I think Wellsant, the tight end, just let that go by, thinking, hey, that's not for me, but I think he would have had the touchdown.
2nd and goal. 2 in the backfield. Swinton goes in motion. Calvin trying to collect his 5th touchdown against Washington in his career. He picked up a couple. Habib, the nose guard, there to hit him initially.
Now Washington has 7 points on the board because of Demoy Williams' punt return for a touchdown, but we haven't seen their offense yet.
Right.
We have seen Washington State's offense march right down the field. Dennis Erickson has to be pleased that his team has the resiliency to bounce back after something as traumatic as a punt return.
Hey, it's Apple Cup. What the heck? This is where you simply go for broke. 3rd and goal from the 3. The option. And it's jammed up as Rosenbaugh tries to go to the left. It'll be 4th down.
Not a chance on that play. I think Tim had his mind made up. He didn't even look to the pitch man. Richard Calvin, number 22, had an open lane. He also had a lead blocker, number 31, Steve Broussard.
Bruce Beal, the first man to him defensively.
Watch Tim Rosenbaugh. You see Steve Broussard leading the way, but Tim makes his mind up early, thinking he can get in the end zone.
19-yard field goal attempt by Kevin Adams. And the gentleman out of Everett puts Washington State on the board. This drive started back on the 22-yard line of Washington State, and they went down the AstroTurf like it was a green freeway. We'll be back. 9:02 remaining, first quarter.
There are those who fervently believe that true perfection is found in the details. At the Bavarian Motor Works, we gave that belief a name. We call it the BMW 735i. Beautiful, to be sure. Yet perhaps the most beautiful thing about it is its spirit.
See your nearest Puget Sound area BMW dealer for a thorough test drive.
To everyone in American business who understands that success isn't a destination, it's a journey, we present telecommunications to help along the way. We are U.S. West and Pacific Northwest Bell. Nobody knows the trails better.
3 key plays on that scoring drive. This is one of them, the shovel pass from Rosenbaugh to Broussard. I think it surprised everybody in the stadium.
Mr. Improv. All of a sudden he says, I don't think I want to get hit now, so you take it. Just dishes it off to Steve Broussard.
Not bad for a guy who couldn't remember the second half of last week's game. He suffered a mild concussion in the first half. He had to watch the film to figure out the second half's details.
Going 80 yards and eating up 4.5 minutes. And as Keith pointed out, we haven't seen Chandler in the Husky offense yet. Franklin hauled down at the 22. Darrell Franklin, the wide receiver, on the kickoff. So they'll set it up on the 22, which is exactly where Washington State started their scoring drive for that field goal. 19-yarder by Kevin Adams. So 1st and 10 as Chris Chandler brings out the Huskies for the first time today and his last appearance in Husky Stadium, playing with that hit pointer and no medication, which is a good sign for him, not needing it. 2 wide receivers. Ames is the tight end in motion. Vince Weathersby, a little counter move. 1 trip, or he might have picked up another 5 yards. Brian Ford, one of their leading tacklers, outstanding linebacker with the tackle himself. Up front is Ames, McLeod, Kelly John Lewis, Brostick, Brent Weesey, Mike Zendowski. And Chandler in his last game, Jenkins, Weathersby, Slater, Franklin in his last game as a Husky, unless they go on to play in the Aloha Bowl on Christmas Day. 7-3, Washington. 2nd down and 4. Slater, who had the flu last week, goes in motion. The toss sweep to Weathersby. He finds another seam and could be good for a 1st down. He got 6. It'll be a first down, their first of the day. The defensive line, they go with a 4-man front with Gray, Downing, Savage, and Ivan Cook, good ball player, Metcalf, Alapate, and Ford. Ford normally had been in the middle last year, now playing the outside. Hasty, Holmes, Todd, a JC transfer, and Sean Landrum, rather, number 18, the other corner. First and 10 on the 34 of Washington. Husky ball with their first drive today. Ames again in motion to tie it in. Chandler with his first throw. Got to go deep. Has a man. Slater. And it's good at the 30-yard line of Washington State. Slater, the junior from Lake Stevens, who had a big day last year, of course, against Washington State. This one good for 36 yards.
Little play action pass which held the safety inside, and then Chris threw the seam route right down the sideline, called a fade route, right between the free safety and the cornerback. And you see Brian Slater haul it in, and let's see if he was inbounds
I'm
or
not
not.
so sure he was.
That was real close.
The official came over and went down first and then gave the complete signal.
Yeah, we've got some motion on the Huskies. Mike Zendowski, the right tackle, moving. That was very close. A reception. First penalty of the game, by the way, with 7:41 first quarter.
Ball start, offense, repeat first down.
The voice of Jim Springer. Let's see if Slater was indeed in. Can we catch it?
Out of bounds.
OB, boy, that's a big play.
First down and 15 for Washington. Now in Cougar territory. Franklin is to the left. Now the shift to the I. Sweep. And the Cougars do a nice job of sweeping to the left with them as Brian Ford and Tanao Alapate move from their linebacker positions for the stop. Gain of 2.
Going back to that Slater reception, I tell you, it's about time the Huskies got a break like that this year. So many times it's gone against them.
Randy Brownlee, the kicker for Washington. He's on a 3-game slump. He's missed his last 5 field goal attempts, after earlier going on a 4-game kicking streak.
Talking about that Slater reception also, that now moves Chris Chandler into the number 3 total offense slot in Washington history.
Second down and 13 from the 33. Chandler still with it on the rollout. Gets to the 30. Down to the 25-yard line. 5 yards short of the first down. And there's a gentleman out there running around with a hip pointer from 2 weeks ago. Tanao Alapate with the tackle.
But the thing is, you're looking at one of the most courageous young quarterbacks in the game today. This guy is very, very tough. He did everything he could to try to preserve Kerry Conklin's redshirt year so that the Washington Huskies could have the use of Kerry's services for 3 years. But unfortunately, he couldn't quite overcome that hip pointer against Arizona.
Husky trainer Dennis Seeley said it's amazing what adrenaline does for you in terms of healing on game day.
Almost 45% in their third down conversions. They need 5 from the shotgun here. At the 20, complete. Weathersby. Touchdown, Washington. Weathersby with his first touchdown reception of the year and only his second touchdown of the year overall.
Part of the reason, though, for his low touchdown productivity is he has to score from long range just like that, because he's not involved in that full house tee where they usually score. But watch the way number 41 James Hasty plays this, and V-Dub makes a great move to get open, find that seam. Look at Hasty overrun V-Dub, and now watch him cut back and go into the end zone.
Brownlee, perfect for the year, and the Huskies, with their first possession, comes up with a touchdown. So neither team having to punt so far. What can I say? Typical Apple Cup. We'll return to Husky Stadium right after this.
What's all the excitement at your Chevy dealers? It's Chevy National Pickup Month. Come see new option packages for $1988 that can save you up to $1,900 on Chevy S10 pickups. And take the test drive of the decade in the advanced new full-size Chevy. The first all-new full-size pickup introduced in this decade. See your Chevy dealer now during Chevy National Pickup Month. Everybody else is.
One quick correction. Obviously, the Cougars punted one time as the Huskies return it for a 63-yard touchdown. Here's the touchdown now by Washington on the pass to Vince Weathersby.
Chris Chandler looking the Cougar defense off downfield. They ran a wide receiver down the sideline. Then he dishes it off to V-Dub. James Hasty overruns it, but watch the move he puts on Chris Moten, number 6 right there, setting up the block by Darrell Franklin, and then just bowls his way into the end zone.
Brownlee to kick. Richard Calvin and Victor Wood back to receive. And Wood lets it go over the head and beyond the end zone. Back to the 20-yard line, and Weathersby, who had a career-high 177 yards last year against Washington State.
You might notice that both of the kickers are using a tee and a holder today because of the wind on the field.
There's the drive. Washington State went 80 yards for that field goal, and the Huskies go 78. Two key plays, obviously the pass to Slater and then the pass to Weathersby. First and 10 from their own 20. 6:37 remaining in the first quarter. Calvin carries. Brian Abebe was there after the gain of 3. So Rob Meyer has had one punt for Washington State. We've not seen Eric Canton, who's out of South Kitsap High School, the punter for Washington. So true, Mr. Calvin. Second down and 7. Rosenbaugh going upstairs. Over the middle, trying to hit Broussard. One thing that the defensive coaches for the Huskies were very concerned about was how Washington State can spread it out against a defense. They get so many people out wide, as Coach Heacock said this morning, for the Huskies, if we could just get a 12th man in the middle somewhere, we'd be fine. I just need 12 players to stop them.
Well, that's exactly what they did. If you'll remember earlier, when Richard Calvin broke that simple dive, they had 3 wide receivers and then just had the field spread out, and then they hit it for the quick dive up the middle.
Third down and 7. Rosenbaugh. Here comes the pressure, getting outside. Still gets the ball away. Incomplete. They're saying he was out of bounds.
And Dennis Erickson is right there helping him officiate.
Okay, they're going to call
him down
within the grasp of Martin Harrison.
But there's no such thing as within the grasp of college football.
They're saying he had him, is what I'm pointing out.
I don't know whether that is what they're calling or when he slipped.
Blew the whistle?
When he slipped, I think they're saying his knee touched, and that's when they called the play off. And it's a good thing because I think Dennis Erickson would have hyperventilated because he was screaming at that official.
Well, they got that 12th man on the field. 12 men on the field for the Huskies. An automatic first down for Washington State.
He had a lot of time.
He had a whole lot of time, but you look, he's looking at the rush, trying to find a receiver. All of a sudden he slips, and I don't know whether the official blew the whistle or what.
Well, evidently it's incomplete, and now they move it forward on the penalty with 12 men on the field. I didn't know Coach Heacock was going to take him literally. 15-yard penalty. So it's first and 10 from the Cougar 38-yard line. That's the Apple Cup.
And look at Tim Rosenbaugh's jersey flapping in the breeze. That shows you a little bit how strong that breeze is down there.
From the 38, Broussard gets a couple of key blocks. And all the way up to the 47-yard line, short of the first down, and Bo Yates ran him down, the outside linebackers for Washington.
That was Rich Swinton's 8th reception for the year.
Check that. I thought that was Broussard. Mr. Swinton, who backs up Richard Calvin. Now this is Wood when he goes out. And watch the sideline of the Cougars when they call the pass out of bounds. And we may not have time. Victor Wood looking for it. Back to live action. Rosenbaugh fighting to get the first down as Bo Yates and Bruce Beal go for the Huskies. We'll see where they mark it.
Bruce Beal playing this week in place of Tom Erlinson. I visited with Tom on Thursday night. But I tell you, the one thing seniors don't like is not having the opportunity to play in the Apple Cup game. He is not at all pleased, but he said he was told by the training staff that if he took the chance of playing on his bad knee, he could face, you know, irreparable damage. And he didn't want to take that chance because he does have a shot to play pro football.
He definitely does. And talking to some of the scouts, they really like this linebacking core.
3rd and less than a yard, and Rosenbaugh has the first down right at the 50-yard line.
That time he made sure he got the first down. Last time, Bo Yates planted a helmet right in Tim Rosenbaugh's face to make sure that he didn't slide the ball past the first down marker.
Brian Habib is a Husky that's getting up a little slowly, the nose guard. Dennis Erickson, first time he's taken his team into Husky Stadium. Washington State had 5 first downs on that initial drive. Habib being taken back to the bench. The nose guard out of Ellensburg. So it's 1st and 10, right at midfield. Calvin lined up behind Rosenbaugh, quarterback. Calvin in motion. Rosenbaugh. Bob Willett giving chase and gets him out of bounds. And you see what we mean, at least everyone on the west side of the state, about Rosenbaugh having to contain him. He's a strong kid. When I say kid, I use that term loosely. 6'2", 210 pounds, but he's a big, strong athlete.
And the big thing is he's now starting to understand this offense. This is a very complex offense, and he has not had the opportunity, according to Dennis Erickson, of learning the offense before he had to play. He had to learn on the run, but as the year has progressed, he's gotten better and better.
He picked up 1. It's 2nd down and 9. Across the middle, Broussard flagged down as he gets the first down at the 36 of Washington. Well, let's see what the laundry's all about.
Right in the heart of holding territory.
One of the Husky captains went to an official and had a little huddle with him a couple of minutes ago and probably said, will you keep an eye on this guy for me?
It is indeed holding, as Jim Springer showed. Referee out of Auburn, one of the leading Pac-10 officials. So they'll back it up into Cougar territory. Extra defensive backs coming in for Washington, including Eugene Burkhalter, number 21. We talk about memories of this game. I still can't help but look at Burkhalter when he comes down to that number 21, and I think of Charlie Mitchell, who wore that number during the golden years for the Huskies.
Washington State, the most penalized team in the Pacific 10 Conference this year.
2nd down and 19. They set up the screen. Intended receiver Broussard.
There should be a flag.
And we've got him.
Okay.
2 of them down.
Broussard was a receiver, but it landed on the legs of an offensive lineman. Jim Mahalchek from Port Angeles.
Illegal touching.
Is that a Bill Cosby penalty, or don't touch certain parts of your body? This is a TV game.
That's tavern talk.
Mike Utley.
Hit a lineman in the back behind the line, 5 yards, loss of down, 3rd down.
Loss of the down. Let's see if you can find it.
Watch Jim Mahalchek throwing the block as he moves out to set up the screen. Rosenbaugh under pressure just throws the ball trying to throw it away, but it landed right in Jim's hip pocket.
If it had been a pocket, he could have had some yardage. Might have been tough to get it through the rule book, but Rosenbaugh now looks at 3rd down and 24. And you can see the wind, as Sam pointed out. It's coming from the southeast, so they're almost running right into it.
With the low temperature, it's like a tundra down there.
3 wide receivers to the right. His outlet to the left. He'll go deep anyway. Art Malone underneath. He's got it for the Huskies. Can't stay up. So it'll be Washington ball on the 17-yard line of the Huskies. Art Malone with his 4th interception this year. We got a flag way back at the line of scrimmage.
Sam, isn't this a situation where Rosenbaugh's got to learn not to throw the ball perhaps when he doesn't have a man open?
Sometimes, yes. And that time, I really couldn't tell who he was trying to throw to. There were 4 Huskies around 1 receiver. And Tim threw that ball well inside. Unsportsmanlike conduct.
Dead ball foul. Well, that's the first of maybe many today when you've got brother against brother.
But it's a dead ball foul,
Right.
so it is the Huskies' ball.
They'll go
But
half the distance.
You see Tim start to feel the pressure. Washington's done a good job of hitting him and forcing him. Now he's starting to think about that rush. But he is really not reading downfield now.
I think you just saw why this unsportsmanlike conduct penalty was called. A late hit on a quarterback, perhaps.
Yeah.
No, because
There
that was during the play.
Yeah, that's underneath there. A little tangle between the blockers. So they're now back on the 8-yard line following the unsportsmanlike call against Washington. 1st and 18. Chandler. And they go with a quick dive to Jenkins, who came up with 103 yards last week against UCLA.
Got to congratulate Ohio State's Earl Bruce, who was fired this week. He beat Michigan 23-20.
Well, that's quite a comeback. They were down 10-0 in the first quarter. 2nd down and 13 after the gain of 5. Ames at the bottom of your screen. Now goes in motion. Corey Metcalf, the linebacker, following. Weathersby gets a couple. Alapate and Ford, the 2 linebackers, on the tackle.
Now the Cougars are going to Japan next week to play in that Tokyo Bowl. They've all had to get passports. Tunao Alapate is the toughest passport acquisition of them all. We'll tell you more about that as the game goes along.
Just spelling it was tough.
Tell him, hey, I'm from Union City, California. Really?
Oh no. Oh no.
That's what they put officially.
They thought he was American Samoan. He's actually Tongan.
Oh, 3rd down and 11. Here comes Ames. Too much time. The clock, 25-second clock, was down to 0.
Now back to Alapate for just a moment. The university had to try to track down what his official citizenship was. They contacted American Samoa. They said, no, he's not Samoan. They finally found out that he was Tongan, so they had to apply to the American consulate, or the Tongan consulate in the United States, which is in New York. They sent off the paperwork, didn't expect to see a passport until maybe the day they left for Tokyo, and Lord knows they get the thing back in 3 days. They asked Tunao why. He said, well, perhaps it's because my aunt is the queen of Tonga.
He knows somebody upstairs.
That's
3rd
correct.
and 16. They go with a quick dive to Jenkins, and he is riveted to the ground. James Hasty putting a hit on him, and they're short of the 1st down, so it's time for Washington's punting team to come on.
Eric Canton only averaging 28 yards a punt since taking over the chores.
Canton back to punt. Has a bit of a wind behind him. Victor Wood will receive from his own 10. High punt, but short. And Woodfair catches right at his 46-yard line. So pretty good field position now for Washington State as they trail 14-3. Kelly John Lewis being attended to by Dr. Steve Bramwell. Been playing guard the last few weeks, left guard.
And I'm glad to see that, too, for his confidence, because he kind of took the rap and was the whipping child for the offensive line problems that the Huskies had encountered, but really, in fact, that is not the case.
Rosenbaugh with 1st and 10 from the 20, from the 46, and here goes Richard Calvin again. You just have to say Husky week with this gentleman, and he is ready to play football. He's done very well against the Huskies in the past. Bob Willig along with David Real on the tackle. 7-0 UCLA. First quarter. Weathersby, Aaron Jenkins, rest of the running backs. Second down and 1 after 9 by Calvin. Swinton, the ball carrier. First down for Washington State as he gets down to the 35 of Washington.
Here's a guy who missed the better part of the season with a torn rib cartilage. He's very impressive early for Washington State and then just disappeared.
But they are doing it with the run, and when they have won in 3 ball games that they have won, they have averaged 223 yards a game on the ground.
Total offense 101 for the Huskies, 118 for the Cougars. First and 10 from the 35. Swinton going in motion. Rosenbaugh looking that way. Now he has room to run, fumbles it out of bounds, and picks up an extra 3 yards doing so.
He was going to try to backhand shovel pass again and then thought better of it and fumbled the ball right out of bounds. Washington defense has done an excellent job of preparing for Washington State's passing game because Bo Yates had excellent position. Tim Rosenbaugh looked to the weak side, stayed to the weak side, and Bo was in perfect position to cover both receivers.
First quarter winding down as it's second down and 7 from the 32. 3 seconds on the clock. They go over the middle. Broussard. Demoy Williams defending. It may have been the back of Demoy's helmet that knocked it away. And I think he may have been saying he was trying to screen me off from view of the ball.
Is he gonna take some heat for that one? Big old waterhead using it for your defense. Watch the ball as Demoy doesn't even see it coming, and bingo! That's using your head, folks.
And watch what happens on the backside of this play. The other receiver, there's another receiver from the Cougars trying to get to that football. He felt he may have been interfered with as well.
Third down and 7. Down to the 30 and the 25, close to a first down. Looks like it will be. And Rosenbaugh showing a lot of savvy to get down to the 24 and what should be a first down.
And that is why he had 23 rushes last week, Don. It was on scrambling. It wasn't on quarterback draws or running the option. It's just that he gets back there and starts scrambling around.
There it is.
He can't find anybody. He's looking to the wide side of the field. Checks over the middle, says, no, I don't have anything there. Feels the pressure. You see Mike Utley looking for somebody to block. And then Tim just tucks the ball under his arm and sees the first down marker, lowers his head, and just gets enough for the first down.
Former Pullman High School quarterback has his team into Husky territory again on first down. Swinton, the ball carrier. Gets down to the 21 of Washington on a gain of 3. David Rill playing in his last home game, the senior from Port Orchard and South Kitsap High School. And first quarter's coming to an end right here. Well, I said it earlier, I'll say it again, a typical Apple Cup. It's been a good one so far. The Washington leading the Cougars 14-3. Second quarter coming up. This is Apple Cup 87.
Here are 3 good reasons to bring your prescriptions to Pay and Save. Dick Weber, Sue Ellen Olson, Len Talbot.
No, dear, the IRAs are over there, next to hosiery.
Have you noticed how almost everyone these days is selling financial services?
Now, would you like a lottery ticket? A money market account?
Please hold for Mr. Westfall.
Yes, I'd like to talk to you about your financial security.
Now it's more important than ever to find an advisor you can trust. Call Metropolitan Savings and get started on a solid investment base.
The man, the music, the masterpiece, Amadeus. Siskel and Ebert give it 2 enthusiastic thumbs up. The New York Times calls it a major achievement. A grand, sprawling entertainment, says Time. People magazine calls it undeniably thrilling. Coming to television for the first time and completely uncut. The Academy Award-winning Amadeus, Tuesday night at 8 on Channel 13.
Apple Cup 87 is being brought to you in part by Metropolitan Federal Savings and Loan. proud sponsors of the Husky Player of the Game Scholarship, and by Alaska Airlines, serving all of Alaska and cities throughout the West.
Second quarter is here. Washington with a punt return for a touchdown of 63 yards and a pass completion from Chris Chandler to Vince Weathersby, coming up with the second touchdown. But the yardage goes in the favor of the Cougars, 133 to 101 in the first quarter.
Look at how the defense is spread out.
Second down and 7. They go to Calvin outside for the first down and inside the 10 to the 8. And you're right, Sam, they had the whole student body spread out border to border.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Tony Zachary was defending. It's a great point, though, and that's exactly what the Huskies fear most about this offense, is how they spread out everybody. 12-yard gain.
You see Tim looking hard right, just backing out, taking one step because he saw the corner run off with the wide receiver, and he saw nobody was there to take Richard Calvin, so he got it to him quick. Only a one-step drop.
First and goal from the 9. Receivers to the left side. Now has Calvin. And the Huskies close in after a gain of about 2 yards. Darrell Hall, David Rill, Lilo Lang.
But the big hit was put on by Marty Harrison. He's the one who was coming from the inside out. As Richard Calvin was trying to cut back inside, he went head on into Marty Harrison. And I think that's why he's coming out. Tim again feeling the pressure. Does a great job of getting it off. Now watch Richard Calvin try to make a move, and there's Marty Harrison. Boom, knock his legs right out from under him.
Number 56, he already has 1 sack against Rosenbach today. Second down and 8. Attacking the left side. Washington State with 10 first downs to Washington's 2. Bruce Beal, the linebacker, making the stop on Swinton.
Like Jim Walden used to say stats are for losers. Washington has 14 points on the board right now. The Cougars have 3.
So it'll be 3rd and goal from the 6-yard line. Kevin Adams with a 19-yard field goal in the first quarter. That's been it for the Cougars so far. 3 wide receivers to the right. Tim Stallworth in there, number 2. And now Broussard in motion. Broussard, boy, nice concept, a good design play, but the pass being off a little bit affects the timing and gives Lang time to come in and make the tackle, preventing a touchdown.
And it looks to me like Dennis Erickson's going to keep the field goal unit on the sidelines and go for it.
This time he has to. He wants to. He's got his initial points on the board. Now he says we can go ahead and what a boost that would be if they can come away with some points here.
Here we go. 4th and 2 for Dennis Erickson. 1 right receiver each side. Rosenbach still with it. It'll be Washington ball. Chris Layton, the intended receiver, the tight end.
And Tim Rosenbach is just beside himself. It was a broken play. He ripped his helmet off his head.
What happened, Sam? Did somebody perhaps snap a ball too early, or what took place?
It's really tough to tell because we don't know what the play is designed, but Tim looks as if it's a play action and he's supposed to hit the tight end. And the tight end got jammed coming off the line of scrimmage because I think it was a pass all the way because you don't see any linemen driving downfield.
Huskies on the 2-yard line on 1st and 10. Golden opportunity slips by the Cougars. 3-yard gain by Compton. James backing up Jenkins. Tony Covington academically ineligible this week.
Yes, this week his injury is between his ears.
Second down and 7.
He went to my high school, so I can say that.
Okay. Yeah.
He graduated from high school, though, didn't he? Did you?
Zinger, there you go.
It's called GED.
No.
Greg Lewis, the freshman out of Ingram, carries the ball for 3. He graduated. Brian Ford with the tackle. Ford out of Canada, as virtually everyone in the state knows. He's a great linebacker for a number of years.
Well, the loss of a Tony Covington today, though, is damaging. He's the Huskies' leading touchdown scorer this year.
And he's hot right now. He's been making things happen for Washington. Yeah. 3rd down and 4. Chandler needs to get to the 12. He got it. He had one receiver to go for, Scott Jones, the tight end, and that was about it. It was covered well by Washington State, so he took matters into his own hands. 6-yard gain and a first down for Washington.
And it looks as though he's walking a little bit gingerly. But watch Chris Hiller lose containment, and Chris gets outside. You see number 93 lose the leverage. Chris just lowers head. See that first down marker? But I think Tunao Alapate's left leg went running into Chris's hip pointer again. He was grimacing a little bit as he got up.
The right hip that got banged up against Arizona. First and 10 now from the 15. Weathersby out to the 24-yard line, short of the first down. Vernon Todd coming up from the free safety on the tackle.
Actually, Don, it's his left hip that
Is it left? I thought it was his right.
It looked like it. We incorrectly called it in the game against Arizona. We thought it was the helmet, but in actuality, it was the knee coming over from the other guy that was flying over Chris. Because I talked to Gary Pinkel about it.
Picked up 9. It's second down and 2. Slater going to the left. Jenkins, and is tripped up by Dan Weber, number 92, the redshirt freshman. So it'll be third down.
You saw Dan jump up and celebrate. That's his 4th tackle this year, so he's really excited.
He's also got an interception this year.
He's also from Bellevue, so he's playing in front of some old friends, I'm sure, today.
Chandler's sore. It's that simple. He's
very sore.
He's going to have to deal with it now. 10.5 minutes remaining here in the first half. Third down and 1. And they've got the first down as Greg Lewis carries. You can tell he's hurting. When he
Watch
leans over on
Chris.
the
I
knees.
mean, he's in low pain. Watch him. He just, boom. Got a little trouble moving right now.
First down and 10 from the 28. Got Slater to the left side, Franklin to the right. And he'll try to throw with that soreness. Got it. Franklin, first down at the 43. Vernon Todd, number 29, there with him, and I don't know how much longer he's going to be in this game.
Yeah, I don't either. He's hunched over and he's going, I don't know.
15-yard gain, but this is exactly what you talked about before the game, Sam. If he goes out and Conklin comes in to play quarterback, you've got 2 sophomores in there, and it's a dead heat. Chandler right now is a big difference in this game.
You lose the leadership, the senior leadership, and that Washington so much needs right now at this point of the season.
Conklin has just started warming up.
The streak continues for Franklin, as you saw. First and 10. Weathersby to the 45. Tony Savage on the tackle, number 75, the sophomore, after a 2-yard gain.
It's almost to the point now where Chris Chandler walked toward the sidelines after that play completed. He's leaning so hardly to the right now, looking to the sidelines like, hey, get me out of here.
Rib, Sam?
Boy, it's hard to say because he's taken a couple of good shots. And I'm sure Gary Pinkel would have, was a little bit saying, how much longer can he go?
Yeah. Second down and 8. Possible audible being called. Chandler with it. Still able to throw. Goes to the short man. Well, not able to throw all that well. As you see, he comes up short.
I think after seeing that, Sam, you got to get him out of the football game if he can't throw the football and help your football team.
Intended receiver was Jenkins, but yeah, he came up short. He's 3 for 4 passing today, however.
Well, and that one was incomplete because he was moving to his left, and it looks like he's lost the ability to rotate. And when you're going to your left, you got to be able to turn those shoulders, get those hips locked, and throw the football, and he was having trouble doing that.
Third down and 8, a passing situation, and he's in the shotgun. Had to get rid of it, goes to Ames, needs to get to about there for the first down, and he does it.
And Chris is down.
Flag is down as well, next to Chris. And it looks like it's a hold on Washington.
Well, I'm going to ask the question because I think it needs to be asked. Why doesn't Don James get him out of there 2-3 plays ago to get a more productive quarterback in there that can do all of the things you need to do as a football team to be successful?
He's your leader, for one thing, I would say.
You see Tim Downing, who put the hit on Chris. Carey's, you know Carey's heart is beating furiously right now because you're saying, hey, am I going in? Am I going in? Am I going in?
10-yard penalty. It's 3rd down and 18. No shotgun this time around. Penalties starting to take their toll. Taking the draw. Lay it off to the tight end again. Ames way short of the first down. It'll be time to bring on the punter as Tanao Alapate makes the play, and Chandler will go to the bench, be taken care of. Looks like Ames may be banged up as well. Ames, the tight end out of Spokane and University High School. Got the Cougar trainers helping him out.
Yeah, the Washington trainers couldn't see him. Washington State kept motioning for Washington trainers to come over, but they couldn't see.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back at Husky Stadium.
Husky, born to work, bred to last. Pound for pound, nothing works like a Husky. The Husqvarna chainsaw, they call it Husky. Raw power and lightweight make it the professional's choice. It won't let you down. Nothing works like a Husky.
See your local Yellow Pages for the dealer nearest you.
The player down is Bill Ames, the tight end. Let's see if we can tell where the injury took place. Here comes the top of your screen. Alapate is the man who put the hit on him, the first one. And then a Cougar comes over the top.
Yeah, and it looks like, watch his left leg. See his left leg get turned under as Tanao Alapate landed on it. And you see him dragging that left leg.
Chandler on the sidelines, obviously in a great deal of pain. So now your leading quarterback and your best tight end are suddenly out of this game.
And you lose a real dimension offensively that the Huskies really searched for early in the season.
Ames, who had 13 receptions coming into this game, becoming a new dimension for the Huskies. And the gentleman out of Spokane now done for the day, obviously.
This is only the 26th punt now that Washington State has returned for the year.
Canton back to punt for Washington on 4th down and 11. Wobbly punt. It's a Husky bounce inside the 30 and down to the 25-yard line. So that's where Washington State will set up their offense. 7:47 remaining here in the second quarter. This is Apple Cup 87.
A 33-yard punt.
Here are 3 good reasons to bring your prescriptions to Pay and Save. Rick Thurman, Ward Nelson, Kathy Veluzzi.
Everyone has a dream of paradise.
Mine was to build the most fabulous resort in Waikiki.
Introducing the new Hilton Hawaiian Village. Gardens and lagoons. Art treasures and elegance on the very best beach at Waikiki.
It's everything I imagined to make your dream come true.
Hilton Hawaiian Village.
Fusion by Dynastar.
Attack the moguls. Float through the powder. Whoosh the hard pack. The dual action system by Dynastar. Complete versatility. White soft sidewalls, smooth response, more control. Black rigid sidewalls, quick response, more precision. Switch skis to match the snow conditions or the way you like to ski. Fusion by Dynastar. Feel the difference.
"33-yard punt for Eric Canton. So it's 1st and 10 for Washington State from the 26. They get it over the middle. Broussard gets his blocking. 1st down for the Cougars. And a nice job by Steve picking up his blockers to pick up some more territory. 15-yard gain by Broussard.
One of the most pleasant surprises for this coaching staff. Steve Broussard had the bad rap of being a game player and not a practice player. Injured so much, he'd crawl out of the training room on Friday to get ready for Saturday's game. This year, he's played through the season with a bad hamstring. He's played with bumps and bruises, and he's really contributed to this football team.
Up to the 40-yard line, 1st and 10 for Rosenbaugh and the Cougars. Big hole for Calvin, and he gets into Husky territory. And another 1st down. Lilo Lang, the cornerback, stops him, but not until they pick up a dozen yards.
Expounding on what you talked about, Steve, I was asking about that, you know, because we did so many Cougar games last year, and I said, how has Steve done this year? And trainer Mark Smaha said, this is a different kid. Against Arizona, he just separated his shoulder. I put it back in place on the sideline. At halftime, he came up to me and said, I want to go back in and play.
He has matured. On 1st down, they throw it this time to the tight end. Layton down to the 24-yard line. Chris Layton out of Spangle, who's a senior playing his last game in Husky Stadium. One more in Japan, of course, with a gain of 26.
And he is the 2nd leading receiver. Washington State's passing offense has been geared to pop the ball to those quick inside receivers. It's just a simple crossing route underneath. He comes over, hooks it up, beats David Rill, and splits, go right between the 2 linebackers. You saw Bruce Beal couldn't come over and get a hit on him.
Layton had 2 touchdown receptions last week against Oregon. 1st and 10. Ball now on the 22. Broussard down to the 15-yard line, to the 13. And here come the Cougars one more time as they trail 14-3. But another 1st and 10. 14-yard gain by Broussard.
And the run. Notice the block by Mihalchek. Again, it's a trap. And Broussard does a great job of selling the wide run and then planting that right foot and hitting that seam. He set that block up great and took advantage of what the defense gave him.
The trap, one of the key parts of their offense when they spread it out. Calvin, simple muscle plays. He gets inside the 5-yard line. 4-yard gain. It'll be 2nd down.
Now, the Cougars have been here 3 times in this game, and they've managed but 3 points. Last time they were down here, they came up empty-handed.
They went with the finesse stuff, too, inside. You think they'd go power like that play by Calvin. 2nd down from the 4. Broussard still able to fall forward to the 2-yard line. Bob Willig for the Huskies making the tackle. 3-yard gain, so they mark it down on the 1.
Bob Willig coming in from the left defensive end position, closing down, but Broussard with his quickness and his niftiness was able to bounce forward and make a gain out of what should have been a loss.
3rd down. Calvin in the backfield for Dennis Erickson. 2 wide receivers. Calvin. No sign by the referees. They call it. There it is.
Isn't that something? Jim Springer, the referee, comes from the backfield to signal touchdown. The side judges couldn't see it.
Boy, from our vantage point, it looked like he had gone in, that the ball had definitely broken the plane, but I don't understand why the side judge did not call the play.
I think he was screened by a couple of the receivers on the side, someone over there, but nevertheless, it's a Cougar touchdown. And with the PAT by Adams, They could make it 14-10. Kevin, perfect as a Cougar. He is now 58 for 58 as a Cougar. And we've got a 14-10 ball game. And as far as total offense, 100 yards more now for Washington State than Washington. Again, the touchdown.
Cougars got good push from that offensive line.
Paul Wolf, Jim Mahalchek, Mike Utley. You can see his shoulder pads in the end zone, so it just took a while to unpile the bodies.
Dennis Erickson on the right. He says, no problem, I could call it for you from the 35.
That's right. Well, there was a little bit there.
This is Apple Cup 87.
I didn't buy a Boston Whaler just because it's a great boat for fishing. This is Boston Whaler's unique foam core construction. It's why every Boston Whaler hull is unsinkable and backed by a 10-year transferable warranty. Boston Whaler, great boats for people who fish and people who don't.
Boston Whaler, the unsinkable legend.
You didn't suspect a thing, but he planned it for weeks to end this evening at the top of the world. You'll always remember the time and the place he asked you to spend the rest of your life with him. For this and all your significant moments, Omega.
Now at Wisefield Jewelers, Bellevue Square, South Center, and Tacoma Mall.
Kevin Adams, Cascade Bruin in high school, out of the Everett area. Darrell Franklin out of Tacoma. And he'll receive, be one of the deep backs. Darrell gets the call. From his own 2-yard line to the 20 and runs into a crowd at the 22-yard line. Kerry Conklin will be coming in at quarterback. Jeff Woodruff, receiver coach. Last couple of notes given to Kerry, who's probably anxious to come back in. He suffered those 3 interceptions against UCLA last week. Got a real indoctrination against a very good, one of the best defenses in the country, which can only help. That's money in the bank despite the loss 4 years down the road.
Exactly. Great learning experience.
1st and 10. Let's make it the 27-yard line. Franklin is wide to the left side. Quick pitch, Weathersby. That's something new. We haven't seen all that much this year as Sean Landrum makes the stop, number 18, along with Chris Hiller, number 93. A 75-yard drive, eating up almost 3 minutes, and Calvin getting the TD. His 5th against Washington out of the total of 8.
One of the keys there, too, Don, is the time of possession. Because of the fact that they use the pass so much, their drives don't consume a lot of time.
Good point. 2nd down and 3. Jenkins, 1st down Washington, up to the 45. Brian Ford on the tackle. Jenkins gets 11 yards. Jenkins now with 2 100-yard games this year. 107 against Pacific, 103 last week.
You saw the inside blocking. Great shot from the end zone. You look at it just the same way Aaron Jenkins does.
Slater now comes out to the right side as Chandler's day is clearly over. And Jenkins has got a little load on his shoulders now to help this team out with a sophomore quarterback in there. 1st down, they go to Jenkins. And he is wrestled down immediately by Artie Holmes, the strong safety, number 19. Good play by Artie, the junior redshirt out of Rialto, California. Loss of 1 yard. That's his numbers, Jenkins' numbers last week. 2nd tackle for a loss by Holmes this year. How's that?
That's a pretty tough family to live in right there.
I was just going to say
that.
What do you talk about at dinner? 2nd down and 11.
Not a lot this week.
Little delay. Weathersby. And number 97, Tim Downing, staying home from his left tackle spot. No gain. 3rd down and 11. 14 first downs for WSU, 5 for the Huskies.
And it's a good thing Tim Downing did make that play. Mike Zandowski just leveled Chris Hiller on the outside on that tackle trap play that they've been so successful all year with.
3rd and long. They need 11 yards from the shotgun. Time remaining in the first half. Conklin strong arms it, knocked loose, batted around. Alapate, I believe, will have it. Let's see who wins the wrestling match.
Artie Holmes, I believe, ended up with it.
Is it Artie? Okay, Artie Holmes or Alapate.
They'll share it. We'll see it in the stats as a half an interception. Watch Carey try to strong arm the curl in there, and the ball get tipped up, and then you see Tanao Alapate. Oh, he ends up with the interception, and Artie comes out with the ball.
He pulls the ball out. Now that's teamwork. 1st and 10 on the turnover. Calvin carries. Look at it again. Alapate definitely got the interception, and then Artie Holmes comes up with a steal. The ball too high. Maury Metcalf's the first man to hit it, by the way, for the Cougars. Here comes Artie, says, give it to me. All right, let's go back to the game. 2nd down and 6, 2:26 remaining. Time for the Cougars to put more points on the board. They're down by 4, 14-10. Swinton goes in motion. Rosenbaum across the middle, 1st down. Yes, for Broussard as he gets to the 49.
Washington State continues to use that motion play where they'll send the wide receiver down the sideline, put the back in motion. There's Tanao saying, hi, Mom. Hi, Auntie. Hi, Queen.
I guess hello, Your Highness.
Thank you for getting my passport so I can go to Tokyo next week.
Gain of 9. 1st and 10 from the 49 of Washington State. Rosenbaum has 1:57 remaining before intermission. The option. Outside seam. Broussard can't quite get around as Darrell Hall comes up from the safety spot. Still gets 5 yards, however, and stops the clock with 1:47 remaining.
So many formations, so many things to prepare for. Here's the option.
And Tim Rosenbaum does a good job of waiting till the last minute, and you saw a great job by wide receiver John Felver, which allowed Steve Broussard to make a gain out of that play.
2nd down and 4. Ball on the Husky 45. Swinton to the 40. Should be another Cougar 1st down. Bruce Beal makes the tackle. 16 1st downs now for the Cougars, and look at the field position. The touchdown starting from their own 25. 1:41 now remaining, and a Husky is down.
Sam, last week you mentioned that UCLA was predominantly a right-handed team. When we come back, let's find out what kind of team Washington State is.
Take a timeout. 1:41 remaining here in the 2nd quarter. This is Apple Cup 87.
The pride's inside.
Take an amazing voyage through Plymouth Grand Voyager and discover why the pride's inside. Beyond the versatility and front-wheel drive, past the powerful fuel-injected V6 engine, the best protection and highest owner satisfaction of any minivan. The pride's inside before you're inside.
The pride's inside, born in America.
See your local Northwest Chrysler Plymouth dealer today.
With PNV, friends who've been close in the past can stay close in the future.
Hello.
Gilligan.
Skipper.
I've missed you, little buddy.
Oh, I've missed you too, Skipper.
I've missed everybody. The millionaire.
And his wife.
The movie star.
The professor. And Marianne. Marianne.
You know what we ought to do?
What?
A reunion cruise.
To Yellowstone.
What?
By bus.
Pacific Northwest Bell. We've always been the future.
Sophomore middle guard, number 94, Art Hunter, is the man that was banged up. He's on the right of your screen. There. Got kicked right in the old cerebral. and the cerebellum.
That's an injury between the ears.
Yeah, that is
That's
exactly.
a real injury.
Went off under his own steam, though, so hopefully he'll be all right. 1st and 10, though, for the Cougars. They're grinding out another one. They have 249 total yards, 168 for the Huskies. On 1st and 10, Rosenbaugh with time. Can't get it to his wide receiver, Tim Stallworth. Darrell Hall there defensively.
UCLA, the right-handed tendency team. Is Washington State anything like a right-handed or a left-handed team?
They're more of a short-sided. They've been trying to use that motion play that I was talking about, where they send a wide receiver down the field and use the back. Washington has already made an adjustment. They now have 3 defenders into the short side of the field to protect against that pass. They're taking away all of the options to the short side of the field.
2nd and 10. This time the Huskies get to him, and it's Brian Habib, number 91, the senior out of Ellensburg. That's his 3rd sack of 1987, and a timeout by Washington State. Brian banged up earlier in this game, and Dennis Erickson talking with Rosenbaugh, who's right out of Pullman. I remember Jim Walden talking about Rosenbaugh a couple years ago when he was a freshman. And they said, you watch this gentleman, he's going to be one of the finest quarterbacks ever to come out of Washington State. And that was when he had just arrived on campus.
I tell you, he used to be in the middle of Husky country, though. He attended junior high in Mount Vernon, where his father Lynn was a high school football coach. Then they moved it up, packed it away to Montana, and eventually ended up back in Pullman when his father took a job with the Cougar athletic department.
Whole team lined up. Let's take a look at Habib. Sam?
Boy, look at the line play. This is where football games are won and lost, in the trenches. Number 60, Mike Utley, and center Paul Wolf. Double teaming Brian Habib, but he fights it off and makes the tackle. Tremendous job. And Brian Habib is the strongest Husky defensive lineman. He bench presses 505 pounds.
And he also did something technically very important. He stayed in his lane. He didn't go out to the left or the right. He stayed home, even though he couldn't penetrate. And you look to see what happens. Quarterback came to him. 3rd down. The draw. 1st down, Cougars down to the 20 to the 16-yard line. A minute 19 remaining in the 1st half. Eugene Burkhalter making the tackle, but another 1st down, and the Cougars with another great scoring opportunity. 24 yards.
And Washington State in their hurry-up offense trying to take advantage of Washington's substitution.
Same play, close to it anyway, as they go with a quick delay to Calvin, and he gets 5 yards.
And in their haste to make that play go off, they did catch Washington off guard, because Washington didn't have time to set up their defense.
Calvin with 109 yards already today. Broussard the pitch man, Rosenbach keeps. Dennis Brown on the tackle. 50 seconds, 5-0, and a timeout is called by Washington State. They have 1 remaining. Huskies with all 3. That's the last timeout. Check that. That is the last one for the Cougars. They've used all 3.
We have not seen a lot of defense in this game. Both teams have been marching up and down the field. This is a nightmare for a defensive coordinator.
Well, I think it is, but you know, it's going to be changing now that Kerry Conklin's in the ball game. They've lost the senior leadership, and now Gary Pinkel has had to pull in the reins just a little bit in the passing game.
Couple of plays back. Richard Calvin came up with 24 yards. This was on 3rd and 10. They went with a draw.
And you see the stunt in the inside, and Mike Utley does a great job of blocking Marty Harrison off from looping around. He would have fallen right into Richard Calvin's lap. But Mike Utley made the block, allowed Calvin that nice run.
In this game, combined teams, total offense, 447 yards in the 1st half alone, if you put the Husky and Cougar offenses together.
Well, Richard Calvin's had a big chunk of those for Washington State.
109 yards.
There's Mike Utley, number 60.
We all know about the home record. Most people just as soon hit the road. Broussard, the intended receiver. 1982, the last time a home team has won in this matchup.
Tony Zachary, that pass was incomplete. Tony Zachary put a nice hit on Steve Broussard as he made his move. So Steve was stumbling when he came out of his break and could not regain his balance to catch the football.
27-yard field goal attempt by Adams. Already has a 19-yarder. No good. That's at least 2 times now the Cougars have had great chances to score and have been unable to put anything up. So 42 seconds remaining. The Husky offense is back on the field. And it'll remain 14-10 Washington.
And Don James sighs a bit of relief.
Now let's see what Don James will do. Will he come out and just go ahead and hand the ball off? Or will he try to make something happen? Will he let the clock run out, or will he try to move the ball down the field?
2 receivers to the right side in the I formation. Slater now moving. 42 seconds. 1st and 10. From the 20, Weathersby. They seal it off. And fights his way to the 26-yard line. Brett Weesey with a good block coming around, pulling from the guard. James Hasty on the tackle.
We might see one more play. We might not.
Clock still running. 23 seconds.
So that they do not have to run a play if they don't want to. But they definitely did not call a timeout.
Weathersby, who was way over the century mark over in Pullman last year, his career high, 177. 2nd down and 3. Jenkins. Although after the 49-yard line, but time has expired here in the first half. Nifty little play, fun to watch, I'll say that, Sam. Apple Cup 1987 is half over, and Washington goes into the locker room with a 4-point lead against their cousins to the east. 14-10.
I didn't buy a Boston Whaler just because it's a great boat for fishing. This is Boston Whaler's unique foam core construction. It's why every Boston Whaler hull is unsinkable and backed by a 10-year transferable warranty. Boston Whaler. Great boats for people who fish and people who don't.
Boston Whaler, the unsinkable legend.
Toyota is celebrating 30 years in America with money-saving packages of options on new 88 models. Grand savings up to $1,000 on MR2. Tercel up to $335. Corolla FX up to $694. Camry up to $555. Celica up to $450. Cressida up to $600. Supra up to $610. Come on in. Unwrap a package and save.
Last weekend, November 23rd at 8 p.m., my Port of Tacoma Furniture Warehouse will be closed forever, and this is the final weekend. Prices are negotiable. Any reasonable offer will be accepted. Come down, make us a fair offer, and haul it away. Sofa sleepers as low as $288. Take I-5 to exit 136, Port of Tacoma, 3 lights on the left. You can't miss us. This sale is over at 8 p.m. November 23rd. Everything has to be sold. Furniture for half price at the Port of Tacoma today, closed permanently November 24th.
Sunday on 21 Jump Street.
Get over here.
Ken Hall and the gang are hooked on pumping iron.
As long as I'm big by Friday, I got a date.
But the biceps here are from a bottle.
Steroid abuse.
Could this deadly exercise be Penn Hall's last? Then, on Werewolf, a wealthy widow, her scheming son-in-law, his love-starved wife, a deadly plot. But one thing they never counted on.
Sunday night starting at 7 on Channel 13. Apple Cup 87 is being brought to you in part by Husqvarna, the Husky Chainsaw, and by Union Bay Sportswear, proud supporters of Husky football, a division of Seattle Pacific Industries.
Hello and welcome to this abbreviated version of College Football Saturday Night. I'm Keith Shipman. Now, you might be wondering where J. Michael Kenyon is this evening. He's been talking about national championship for Notre Dame and all that nonsense. Penn State beat Notre Dame 21-20 today, and J. Michael doesn't want to show his face. To be honest with you, he's at the Breeders' Cup. He was at Hollywood Park today in Los Angeles to view the Breeders' Cup race, and we appreciated having J. Michael around this year. This is the final edition of College Football Saturday Night for the 1987 season. Let's look at something interesting in terms of news and notes today in college football. Let's begin with what happened in the Big Ten, Michigan and Ohio State. It was Earl Bruce's last game as the head coach, and he was carried off the field as the Buckeyes beat Michigan 23-20. Bo Schembechler, no doubt, a bit upset at the fact that he was able to be very courteous in Earl Bruce's final game as the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Buckeyes finished 6-4-1. That's what prompted the firing, a losing season. At least that's what Ohio State officials are saying. Earl Bruce, though, was the winningest coach in the Big Ten Conference from 1979 when he took over the head coaching spot in Columbus, Ohio. Now, elsewhere, Columbia's Lions lost for the 41st consecutive game. Columbia had a 16-9 lead against Brown today. They blew that lead and lost 19-16 as they lose for the 41st consecutive game. Now let's look at what happened around the Pac-10 conference today. A showdown in the Rose Bowl in Los Angeles between UCLA, or rather in the Coliseum in Los Angeles, as UCLA and USC took on one another for the Pac-10 championship and the right to collide with Michigan State in the Rose Bowl on January 1st. This was UCLA's game in the early stages. Gaston Green with this 7-yard run. Covered a lot of ground, but it was 7 yards, and it was a touchdown, and the Bruins led 7-0. Rodney Peete had a fabulous day, 23 of 35 passing for 304 yards. A couple of touchdowns. This one to Randy Tanner made it 13-10 UCLA. And the Trojans take the lead on this play. A bit controversial. Rodney Peete to Eric Affolter. Was he inbounds or was he not inbounds? A 33-yard touchdown pass. The replay will show that the officials think he was. 17-13. The score was 7:59 to play. It remained that way as USC defeats UCLA for the Pac-10 championship and the right to play in the Rose Bowl against Michigan State. California at Stanford today, the big game, and the Cardinal beat the Golden Bears 31-7. Oregon and Oregon State in the Civil War, and Oregon blanked Oregon State. The Ducks a 44-0 victory. Arizona visits Arizona State in that cross-state rivalry next Saturday, and the only other Pac-10 game to be played this season, California and Washington State will square off in the Coca-Cola Bowl in Japan. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at top 20 scores. It's halftime, and Washington leads Washington State in Apple Cup 87, 14-10.
(14-10) Washington, but you look up on the scoreboard, total yardage for Washington State, 279 yards, 196 for Washington. Keith, it's really been, as you said, a defensive coordinator's nightmare today.
And one of the things I'm sure that Washington will be trying to do at halftime is to figure out how to stop Washington State, you know, in the middle of the field. They've been able to do it inside the 10. Washington State's come up empty twice now inside the 10-yard line, and of course the Cougar coaches are going to try to resolve that problem.
Not as many turnovers as we expected. We thought there would be more, but there really have not been that many, and we'll get to the stats later in the half, but I've been surprised by that.
Both teams taking good care of the ball, and both teams playing with that emotion that we expected to see from them. It's Apple Cup week.
It's 14-10 Washington at halftime. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Bred to last. Pound for pound, nothing works like a Husky. The Husqvarna chainsaw, they call it Husky. Raw power and lightweight make it the professional's choice. It won't let you down. Nothing works like a Husky.
See your local Yellow Pages for the dealer nearest you.
Halftime here at Washington, Husky Stadium, and the score 14-10. The Huskies on top in what has been, as we said earlier, a veritable track meet. Quite a few yards, 279 for Washington State and 196 for the Huskies. Special guest here up in the booth, about 165 feet up from the playing turf, our own governor, Governor Booth Gardner. What do you think of this game so far?
Exciting game. It's a great game to watch, and I'm really pleased to see the Cougars being competitive. This will be a good second half.
You've been around this series for a long, long time. I'll go ahead and say it. You're a former Husky, aren't you?
That's right, and my wife was a former Husky cheerleader and song leader. She won't give an inch to the Cougars, which is why I'm dressed like I am.
We have a presentation to make in a couple of minutes. We'll do that, though. Generally, we have talked about memories today, things that we remember about this series. What do you remember? Take us back to your college days, maybe. What was it like?
Well, I don't have a lot of memories, except that my wife was a song leader, so she followed the team wherever it went. And when it went to Spokane or Pullman, I generally was fairly close behind.
What was your major?
Business administration.
Absolutely. Now, I understand you have something there to show us. I'd like to see what this is.
Impartial now. If you could see my wife, she has her Husky song leader sweater on with a big W. So our only way our family can be impartial is for me to dress this way, but there's a tradition. The tradition is the following. Take off the Cougar tie, turn it around, and the Husky tie. See, now I've got to go downstairs in the second half if I can figure this out.
Impartiality is the key, as opposed to Democrats and Republicans, to say the least.
No, I don't carry it that far.
Any bets at all as far as going on? Other legislators, is that possibly going on? Apples at stake here or anything like that down at the Capitol?
Oh, I suppose there is. Yeah, the pleasure I have is I present the Apple Cup after the game, and the Huskies have been traditionally favored. It's been really nice to go into the Cougar ballroom or the locker room after the game and see the just total enthusiasm that exists.
It's something special, isn't it, this series, to say the least. Well, Governor, I'm going to let you go into the bathroom so you can use a mirror. We can't have a governor tying his tie without a mirror. You got to look sharp. Thank you for coming by. Good to see you. We're at halftime. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Howdy again, I'm Cal Worthington of Worthington Ford and Worthington Suzuki. You know, I've been your dealer here in the West for 38 years. And if I don't have the best deal in town on a brand new Suzuki or a brand new Ford car or a brand new Ford truck, I'll eat a bug, and I mean it. You know, we carry a lot of our own paper. We can make any kind of a deal we want to make. And when you buy a used car here, you get a 10-day trial exchange. You get a free warranty on the car here. Here's where your friends are. Here's where the bargains are. Worthington Suzuki and Worthington Ford. Federal Way, the only way. Open to midnight every day.
Forget your down payment. Forget a high monthly payment. Today at Hewling Auto Center, you can buy the best of the brand new Mazdas, Buicks, Chryslers, and Plymouths with absolutely no money down and payments up to 50% less. What you'd expect a lease to cost lets you buy at Hewling. Zero down and less than $140 a month for an 88 Buick Century. Less than $152 a month for an 88 Mazda MX-6. Less than $165 a month for an 88 Plymouth Voyager. Hewling Auto Center has it at the top of the hill in West Seattle.
Getting you through winter is what Les Schwab is all about. Getting the kids to school, to getting to the mountains. Winter means different needs for different people. All seasons radials for all kinds of cars and all kinds of weather. Studs, studlets, chains, batteries, and Les Schwab's exclusive Snowflex. It's all there at the place that has traction for whatever your traction needs are. Les Schwab, your traction difference.
Apple Cup 87 is being brought to you in part by Husqvarna, the Husky Chainsaw, and by the Heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet.
It's Apple Cup 1987. I'm Don Poier along with Sam Adkins, Keith Shipman. The 80th meeting, and the fans will express their beliefs in a number of ways when it comes to Apple Cup. I was looking at some of the scores from back since 1981. Here's some memories for you. 23-10, Huskies win it in 1981 in Seattle. 82, 24-20, the Cougars in Pullman. That was the big upset, knocking the Huskies out of the Rose Bowl. Of course, in 81, Huskies knocked the Cougars out. 1983, Cougars with a great team coming in here, winning 17-6. In 84, an Orange Bowl at stake for the Huskies. They win in Pullman, 38-29. 1985 in snowbound Husky Stadium, Tim Rosenbaugh was quite a youngster then. 21-20. Cougars win it. Then last year in Pullman, it was the Huskies winning it 44-23 over in the Palouse. Field position for the Huskies, as you see, starting from their own 22, then their own 8. They've really not gotten that great a field position throughout the game.
Washington State has forced them to go the long field the entire first half. And as a result, you see the first drive, they ended up with a touchdown. But Washington State's defense is now starting to figure out what's going on and playing very well.
Kicking game, kicking game, kicking game. So important.
As Chuck Knox would say, make them go the long field.
That's right. Well, we've got an up man. Looks like Jeff Palcoa, yes it was, who has started at left guard, a true freshman out of Marysville-Pilchuck High School. And he gets it out to beyond the 30-yard line on Kevin Adams' short kick. Palcoa was banged up a bit last week. Kelly John Lewis was starting ahead of him. So Kerry Conklin will come out. Chris Chandler banged up in the first half. We'll watch the second half from the bench, it appears. And Conklin, now, we can no longer say the heir apparent. It appears he is the man, with the exception of possibly a bowl game on Christmas Day if the Huskies indeed go to the Aloha Bowl. Slater in motion. 1st and 10 from the 33. They go with a sweep. Weathersby getting about 3 yards up to the 35-yard line. Brian Ford on the tackle, along with Jerron Woodley, number 90. Woodley, a redshirt freshman from San Jose.
And Brian Ford has moved to the outside linebacker position from the inside linebacker. And what a great move for him on his part, because he's got such good speed and good range.
Weathersby with 40 yards in the first half. 2nd down and 7. They keep it inside as Jenkins gets 4. And Chris Hiller, number 93, right defensive end, making the tackle. He's the senior redshirt from Vancouver, Washington. So it'll be 3rd down and short, 3rd and 3 for the first down. Need to get just outside their own 42. 300-pound Mike Zendowski, number 75, going out to his right tackle spot on a frigid afternoon. This is the coldest day of the year, since summer anyway. It's freezing down here in Husky Stadium. Conklin to the left, Weathersby. And he will not get the first down. He got a lot more than you might have thought he would with the way the Cougars defended it. It was able to bob and weave and get a couple. They'll still be short, though, so Canton comes in to punt. Brian Ford got the tackle.
Boy, and that play almost developed. Kelly John Lewis went out with that kick-out block on the slip screen and just buried the cornerback.
Canton came in averaging 28 yards, 28.5. His longest 41. That was last week. And he took over the punting chores. High spiral. Wood at the 25, 26, and that's where the fair catch is called. So again, as Canton punts, it's time to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment.
The man, the music, the masterpiece, Amadeus. Siskel and Ebert give it 2 enthusiastic thumbs up. The New York Times calls it a major achievement. A grand, sprawling entertainment, says Time. People magazine calls it undeniably thrilling. Coming to television for the first time and completely uncut. The Academy Award-winning Amadeus, Tuesday night at 8 on Channel 13.
Tim Rosenbaugh, quarterback. He had 11 yards rushing, but the man behind him 112 yards in the first half. Richard Calvin. 1st and 10 from their own 26-yard line. Play action over the middle. Did he catch it? Yes, indeed. Tim Stallworth, the redshirt sophomore, coming up with a reception and a first down.
Looking so much like that, what, that uncle of his, John Stallworth?
Yeah.
But this is what Tim Rosenbaugh is talking about. I'm starting to understand, and I'll see the people that are open that the fans are seeing in the stands. I'm starting to see more and more of the field because Stallworth was open for some time, and I kept thinking, throw it, while he's open.
Rosenbaugh, 3rd in the Pac-10 in passing, is now looking at 1st and 10 from the 48. Guess who? Fumble. Washington football.
I'll tell you what, Washington is letting Washington State's running backs break through a lot of tackles, and the defensive coaches have to be concerned about that fumble or no right here.
Ricky Andrews is the man who stripped the ball. Let's look at it.
Watch the individual effort. Great second effort. You see Bruce Beal and Richard Calvin run through the tackle of Bruce Beal. Then Ricky Andrews comes in and strips him of the football.
And he had one thing in mind, didn't he? Go in and get the ball on that play. 1st and 10 for Washington after the turnover. From their own 40, Conklin at quarterback. The reverse, Franklin. Look out. Cougars doing a pretty darn good job of staying home. Alapate forcing it inside. Got a Cougar down in the Husky backfield.
And it's Marvin Adams, and watch number 75, Mike Zandowski, peel back on Marvin Adams. You see the reverse develop, and I don't know if we're going to be able to see it. Boom, right there.
He did the same thing to Ken Norton last week at UCLA.
That's a lineman's dream, is when they can see, when they can make a defensive lineman look out his ear hole.
Now that's 299
right there,
pounds.
Boom, just out of the frame, but you see Marvin's feet come flying into the screen.
Well, Mike Zandowski's certainly got to be a choice of the Pac-10 coaches this year as an all-conference selection. He's certainly worthy of their selection this year.
He was there last year. No reason not to do it again. You're right.
The team will be announced on Tuesday.
If he continues on, he could be the lineman of the year next year.
2nd down and 5 after the reverse. Ball on the 45. Flag down. Still time. Well, illegal procedure. I was going to say still time on the 25-second clock.
Mike Zandowski anticipated the snap just a little bit and fired off too soon.
Dead ball. Ball start. Offense. Repeat 2nd down.
So again, it'll be 2nd down. And it'll be 2nd and 10 back on the 40. Don James 9-3 in the series. Dennis Erickson looking at his first contest against Coach James. Erickson with so many connections here on the West Coast. Remember, his father recruited me, Pinky. Play at Washington State.
His father, Pinky, is on the sidelines, a volunteer assistant.
Conklin to throw on 2nd and 10. Now has time. He'll run it. To midfield. Down to the 40, and finally the 39-yard line, where number 41, James Hasty, the left corner, makes the tackle. The play designed to go to the left, and he simply tucked it under and cut against the grain. 22 yards.
All Kerry Conklin was thinking was saying, hey, Tim Rosenbaugh is not the only quarterback that can run. He runs about 110 yards on this play. He runs from sideline to sideline. You'll see him just cut back to now Alapate overruns it. Kerry Conklin cuts back, beating Brian Ford, who was also in pursuit. Vince Weathersby leading the block, and Kerry just lowers his shoulder for the gain.
So it's 1st and 10 from the 37. Weathersby gets down to the 33-yard line. Dan Weber, the right tackle, making a stop after the gain of 3. 10:52 remaining in the 3rd quarter, and Washington going with ball possession, hoping to anyway, to keep that potent Cougar offense off the field. Ricky Andrews ripped the ball from Calvin, resulting in a fumble recovered by the Huskies, and they've been driving ever since. 2nd down and 7. Slater going in motion. Jenkins. And inside the defensive line, Ivan Cook doing a good job, number 76. No gain. Cook, the junior from Roseville, California, just outside Sacramento, and a 2-year letterman.
And he is leading the team in sacks with 4.
4 coming in, right.
And you look at their defensive stats, Don, and you look where the majority of the sacks are coming from, and it's from the down linemen, because they are one of the few teams left in college football that are running that 4-3 defense.
Alapate with only 1 sack, the middle linebacker. Good point. Half sack for Maury Metcalf, the other linebacker. Only 3 for Brian Ford. You saw the movement. Throwing to Franklin. incomplete. But you saw the movement earlier, so that was a 3rd and 7 situation. Probably will decline.
Washington State will decline the penalty. It was Vince Weathersby moving forward and then was not able to set himself for a full second before that ball was snapped. Let's listen to the
Illegal
call.
motion, offense, penalty is declined, 4th down.
So it'll be 3rd and 7.
Check
that,
on the left side of your screen, number 22 take off, and Daryl Franklin moving too. So right there you have 2 men in motion. So even if V-Dub would have been able to get set, it still would have been the penalty.
Canton back to punt. And let's see if he can go for either the corner or keep it high and go in the middle.
Will they punt here?
Vernon Todd back to receive.
Washington State has left their main defense in the game.
We'll go the high route, try to go down the middle. We've got a Husky bounce in terms of keeping it in play. David Toy knocks it down, and it's called the rest at the 9-yard line. So Canton does his job, and let's take a break of our own. 9:33 remaining in the 3rd quarter. This is Apple Cup 87.
This is the TV coupon for Domino's Pizza. How do you use it? Easy. Just call Domino's Pizza, order a large pizza with your 3 favorite toppings and say, yes, I'd like to use my TV coupon for $3 off. And in 30 minutes or less, you'll be sinking your teeth into a mouth-watering large pizza with your 3 favorite toppings for $3 off. Well, don't just sit there with your mouth watering. Call Domino's Pizza right now. And don't forget to say, I like to use my TV coupon.
Hi, I'm Lenny Wilkins for All-American North Seattle Chrysler Plymouth. The all-new Chrysler LeBaron convertible has stirred a lot of attention in the past few months. And now we're offering the LeBaron convertible with sleek styling combining luxury and sport features. Its power will move you, its beauty will stop you. LeBaron convertible, backed by our 7-year, 70,000-mile warranty and available now at North Seattle Chrysler Plymouth, Washington's most awarded dealer, 137th and Aurora Avenue North.
9:33 remaining 3rd quarter. 1st and 10 from the 12-yard line. Calvin and the Huskies are there waiting for him. Bruce Beal, the first to be there.
And Washington giving Tim Rosenbaugh a certain look when they are spread out. They have all their defensive people spread out, enticing him into an audible. Then, after he audibles, they move back in close because they've been successful with 3 runs from the audible where Tim Rosenbaugh, you know, and he's not real discreet about it. He makes a big deal about the fact that he is going to audible, so they know that he is changing the play.
Gain of 1, 2nd down and 9. 3 wide receivers to the right side. Swinton goes in motion left. Across the middle, intercepted, Lilo Lang. He came from nowhere to make the interception. He got a great step on it, reading it, I think, and that was one of the biggest keys on that interception for him.
Well, he was trailing another receiver who was crossing the field and then saw Tim Rosenbaugh throw. I believe he is throwing for Chris Layton, the tight end, who's coming down the field from the right side, from the left side of your screen. There you see him throw the ball. Oh, no, he's going
Broussard.
to Steve Broussard. But great concentration by Lilo Lang.
Almost make-a-wish time there.
1st and 10 on the 38 of Washington State. 2nd interception for Rosenbaugh today. The pitch. Weathersby has room. He's gone. Touchdown, Washington, but we have a flag down back on the 25-yard line.
By Brian Slater and Artie Holmes. They were entangled. Let's see what the call is. But the guy that made that play go was Kerry Conklin.
Great pitch, nice execution, except for one play, and it is indeed a hold against Washington.
That play almost gone, didn't get underway. Brett Weesey was pulling from his right guard position, about ran over Kerry Conklin.
Holding, offense, 10 yards in the spot. Repeat first down.
There's one guy who's not pleased about that. That's Don James.
That's an understatement, Keith.
Taking another 6 off the board.
Very easy to reminisce about a certain punt return against Southern Cal that was called back, a touchdown punt return because of a penalty, which hurt the Huskies critically in that contest earlier this year.
They had an interception return called back. Darrell Hall.
So it's first down and 8. They march off the 10 yards from the point of infraction. Weathersby not getting much inside. Tim Downing up front with one of the hits. So John Rust, redshirt sophomore, outside linebacker out of Sandpoint, Idaho. So it's second down and 7 after the gain of 1.
There you see Tim Rosenbaugh and Dennis Erickson having a little chat. He didn't want to turn the football over, and they've come out with 2 turnovers in their first 2 drives in the second half.
Suffered 4 interceptions a week ago as Slater goes in motion. Second and 7. Conklin with time, got a throw, had pressure from behind as he was looking for Scott Jones, number 82. I think he could hear footsteps. The pursuit was closing in from behind.
Just a little bit. I know one guy that wasn't pursuing, though, and that was Marvin Adams.
Looking for Mr. Z.
He ran into Mr. Z again and got, as Dave Cadigan from USC would call, another decleater.
Got a cleater. Third down and 7. Washington with a touchdown called back after a holding penalty. So they go from the shotgun. Intended receiver again, Vince Weathersby, and he was simply overthrown as Artie Holmes was defending. So it's fourth down, and Canton will come back on.
That offensive unit on the field for Washington with just 2 seniors. There are 23 making their last appearance in Husky Stadium today.
A lot of crimson and gray in this Husky Stadium as Canton will boot into the wind, going from his right to left. Victor Wood back to receive. Another high punt. And he does the job pretty well as they're down on the 13-yard line. Take a timeout. 7:42 remaining in the third quarter. This is Apple Cup 87.
Preceding performance has been brought to you by Porsche.
Test drive the 928 S4 at your local Puget Sound Porsche dealer.
The man, the music, the masterpiece. Amadeus. Siskel and Ebert give it 2 enthusiastic thumbs up. The New York Times calls it a major achievement. A grand, sprawling entertainment, says Time. People magazine calls it undeniably thrilling. Coming to television for the first time and completely uncut. The Academy Award-winning Amadeus, Tuesday night at 8 on Channel 13.
So the Huskies trailing, check that. The Cougars trailing 14-10. 7:42 remaining in the third quarter. First and 10 from the 12. Calvin, who had 112 yards in the first half, carries to the right side. And David Rill, the senior linebacker from South Kitsap High School, making the tackle.
This is Calvin's 4th 100-yard game of the year. He went over the 100 mark against Arizona, Stanford, and against Fresno State.
Indiana, you might have heard in the background, getting a victory over Purdue, a team that came out here, took on the Huskies in the second game of the year. Washington winning that one. Second down and 6 from the 17 of Washington State. 3 wide receivers. They keep it on the ground. Here comes Broussard. Here comes the pursuit. First down. As Broussard finds the marker and heads on a beeline right forward, picks up the 6, and they've got another series of downs. Spreading out the defense again with 3 wide receivers. They simply go with the sweep to the right. Defensively, that is. And the pursuit unable to get to him before they come up with the first down. So Broussard gets it. It's first and 10 from the 24. Calvin on a trap play, wasn't it, Sam?
It was a trap play. John Hughesby coming in from his tackle position, leading Calvin through the hole.
Two inside linebackers, Brill and Beal, make the tackle. After picking up 5 yards is Richard Calvin. Calvin from Santa Ana, California. Came in with 622 yards coming into this contest with 3 touchdowns and a long run of 51 yards. He's picked up 1 more touchdown, make it 5 now against the Huskies. Rosenbach finding his man after faking the dive, locking up the linebackers, and it's a first down after he finds Tim Stallworth with another key reception, a gain of 20 yards.
You called that perfectly too, Don, by freezing the linebackers. Look at that fake. You saw Bruce Beal and David Rill both step up, trying to stop Richard Calvin, and Tim, with nice touch on the ball, just throws it to Tim Stallworth right over the middle, just beyond the reach of David Rill.
350 yards total offense for the Cougars, 249 for the Huskies. Over 100 yards more for the Cougs, but they're down 14-10. Quarterback draw. Bo Yates picks him up at the 46 of Washington. Picked up 6 yards. It'll be second down and 4.
Give you an idea how briskly that wind has been blowing better part of the day and into last night. They put the tarps down on Husky Stadium last night and all the tires and everything else, and it physically blew them off. It has been really windy.
They had security around the stadium all night and the lights on just to make sure there was no hanky-panky by either school for that
I want
matter.
to see a big Cougar emblem on the 50. You know?
That happened one year when it was a grass field. That was on second down, short of the first down with Swinton. A number of years ago, when it was a natural field, some Cougars came in and burned a big WSU on about the Cougar 30-yard line.
They wouldn't do that.
Never know. I've been closely affiliated with both sides, and both sides are quite capable of doing something like that. Cougars 5th in the Pac-10. 3rd down and 2. Rosenbach has the first down and is at the 35 of Washington. They keep the drive going. 4:46 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Rosenbach with a lot of good training at home as well from his father, Lynn.
And I'm not so sure whether he went the wrong way when he came out with that football and made something happen, because Richard Calvin went into the line looking for the football, and Tim went to the left, and Richard was on the right side.
Improvise. 1st and 10 from the 36 wide receivers. You got 3 of them on the left side of the field as Swinton goes in motion. Rosenbach stringing it out, complete at the 14-yard line.
Flag down.
And with the flag down in the backfield, it was complete to Elmer Thomas. And now the referees talk about it back on the Husky 40. And it's against the Cougars. 22 yards. Forget about it.
And Chris Dyko is hitting himself in the helmet.
Dyko, the right tackle, for 68. Another ball player from Spokane.
Elmer Thomas, one of several Southern Methodist University players to transfer into the Pac-10 after the SMU program was given the death penalty by the NCAA.
Old teammate of Brandy Brownlee, kicker for Washington.
Old teammate of a couple of pretty good players at UCLA this year, too. Named Richards, offensive lineman.
Huge offensive lineman.
Dave Richards.
1st and 15. 3 wide receivers again to the left, 1 to the right. They lob it to Stallworth, and he's got it. Washington having to match up with 4 wide receivers plus a running back. And it was simply one-on-one, and Rosenbach has to take his pick as to who is open. 25-yard gain after having the 22-yarder called back.
Exactly, and if he lays this ball out, it's 6 points because Tim Stallworth is behind the Washington secondary. But he kind of lets it go up in the air, and the wind kind of slows it down, and Tim Stallworth has to fall down to get the football, but he beat Eugene Burkhalter.
From the 16-yard line, it's 1st down again. 3 wide receivers to the left. Got a man late in the tight end, incomplete. Art Malone defending along with Bo Yates. So it'll be 2nd down and 10 from the 16. Brian Abib comes back in. at middle guard.
Keith is pointing to Victor Wood, who was standing alone in the end zone all by himself.
Right down there in that Cougar end zone section. They were all up and pointing at him.
They blended in with the crowd, maybe. 2nd and 10. Calvin trying to make something out of really nothing and does a good job picking up some extra yardage. Travis Richardson, number 58 on the tackle. Got 3.
We have a real battle going on the left side of the offensive line. John Hughesby, number 73, the left tackle, going against Dennis Brown. They have been at each other all day long. There's been a lot of bantering and badgering and chit-chat after every play.
Look at this alignment. 3 wide receivers to the right on 3rd and 7. There goes Swinton. Pressure from behind. David Rill, the linebacker. David Rill with his 3rd sack of the year.
And that's what happens when that back goes in motion. You don't have a back in the backfield. You knew they were coming on a blitz because there were 4 people on the right side and you only had 4 defenders. So you know they're playing man-to-man coverage and not playing zone. So you know they're coming on a blitz.
Call it a 38-yarder. It's good. And the Cougs move within 1, 14-13. Adams with his 2nd field goal of the day. A 19-yarder earlier, and now the 39-yarder. 2:27 remaining in the 3rd quarter. And now the onus goes back on the Husky offense. They quite simply have to keep the ball away from that Cougar offense. I've seen everyone and heard everyone talk about the turnovers of the Washington State offense, but I'll tell you, in a couple of years, Dennis Erickson, if he gets the people he needs, is going to have one incredible offensive machine with these formations and his style.
Well, and another thing, too, is he has 24 to 25 scholarships to go out and recruit with this year. He's looking forward to getting some of the skill people he needs at the wideout positions, a couple of good running backs, and some DBs.
Let's see the sack again by David Rill. Came from an area we normally don't see him, from the outside.
That's right. He's coming on a stunt, coming right up from the outside. Tim Rosenbaugh takes a quick drop because they had 4 receivers, so Tim was looking to the right side of the field. So he didn't really feel David coming until the last minute.
Adams with a 39-yard field goal in hand. Franklin. And he'll leave it there. Well, that wind is really coming off the lake hard. Back to the 20-yard line. Washington will start up.
And the Huskies will have the wind at their back in the 4th quarter.
Good point, Keith. These people have had the wind in their face all day, and they don't seem to mind one bit. Not one bit. 2:27 remaining in the 3rd quarter of the 80th Apple Cup. Don James still looking for a couple of more victories to become the all-time winningest coach in the Pac-10 against Pac-10 competition. Needs 3 victories. He'll have to do it next year. Taking the reverse, and that one had problems from the very beginning as Weathersby simply tries to get back to the 20-yard line. Tony Savage breaking things up for Washington State.
2 guys having a real long day right now. One of them is Tom Erlinson, who's in street clothes on the sidelines. The other is Chris Chandler, who is in street clothes with the big Husky wrap around him, trying to remain warm. At least he's standing up now.
2nd down and 10, no gain on the last play. Minute 55 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Conklin at quarterback. Got the tight end. Yes, it is. Scott Jones. Short gain, however, only to about the 24-yard line as Brian Ford read it well. Outside linebacker. Offensive lineman Mike Utley, the right guard, getting a wheel taped up.
Played at Rainier Beach High School. Was really disappointed that Washington did not recruit him, and really wants to prove to Washington that he's capable of playing.
You see that little bit of blonde hair in the tail of his hair. Jim Walden used to call him two-tone.
3rd and 5. Knocked away. Maury Metcalf, number 40. The redshirt junior out of Sacramento and Grant High School, a city that manufactures good football players. So many come out of there.
He's got some pretty good bloodlines as well. He had a guy named Terry Metcalf, who he's related to, that played for the St. Louis Cardinals.
There you see Frank Lutu is in the ball game in place of Brett Weesey.
4th down, so Canton back to punt. And Victor Wood awaiting the boot. Canton against the wind. Wobbly punt. Could get a return on this one. Here comes Wood trying to get to the picket fence. And he's tripped up. Ricky Meyer, number 35, one of the backup fullbacks, gets a hand on him. So 1:30 remaining here in the 3rd quarter. Again, it's Washington State's offense on the field.
This is Dennis Erickson's first visit to Husky Stadium, his first meeting with a University of Washington team. The last Cougar coach to win in his first meeting against Washington was a guy named Jim Sweeney. He did it back in 1968. The score was 24-0.
He lost a heartthrob here in 1976, too, to Don James. Broussard on the screen. Down to the 40-yard line, and another first down for Washington State.
But Don, one thing I wanted to point out is look at where they are starting their drives. Again, they're only having to go the short field, and then they're in field goal range. And it's because they are not getting the big transition out of the punting game.
12-yard gain on Broussard's reception and run, and as you see, they're taking care of him now.
He came into this ball game with 44 receptions, and I was wondering, you know, because of, you know, he's 3rd in the Pac-10 in receiving,
right?
But he lines up in so many different positions. He's like a wide receiver.
Looks like a Bill Walsh used to do at Stanford, still does with the 49ers.
Yeah, Darren Nelson, exactly. But Tim looks him off downfield last minute. He has Broussard, hits it to Broussard, who has linemen in front of him to lead the way. You see Mike Utley block on Bo Yates. And then let's see if we can see. It looks like it's his right leg that got banged up a little bit.
Won't be too bad.
I think he may just have a cramp.
1st and 10. Ball right on the Husky 40. Calvin trying to get outside. Lilo Lang. Saw a pretty fair amount of speed on the part of Lang and some good agility on the part of Calvin. He picked up 3 yards and about 4.6 in the high jump.
John Chaplin, I wonder if he was watching.
That's right. There we go. Trouble is, there's no cushion pit waiting for him. It's the big track.
Lilo gives him a little assistance.
Hyde cheated. He stepped on the bench itself. I thought he leaped over it. 2nd down and 7. 2 wide receivers to the short side. He'll do it himself. And looks like no gain after running about 20 yards. Harrison on the tackle. Marty, former decathlete, I think has been one of the solid improvements on the part of the Husky defensive front this year as a stud linebacker.
Very steady ball player, as has David Rill.
Very consistent indeed. 3rd down and 7 for the Cougars. They trail by 1. 24 seconds remaining in the quarter. Lots of time. Got a man. Will they mark it?
They're going to mark that ball.
Good.
None of the officials saw it.
Victor Wood, the receiver.
They'll give him that.
And David Rill is beside himself because that ball looked like it bounced. And Victor, he was looking for it, and he knows he got away with murder.
Sam, when you got 4 officials looking at the thing, how can they miss it?
Angle.
Watch the ball.
I think he caught it.
Oh, he did. He did. He scooped it up.
No argument there. He got the 1st down as well.
That's how they did it, because they had a better view than we did.
I still don't think they saw it. I think they got lucky.
1st and 10 from the 25.
I'd rather be lucky than good any day.
And the whistle. And that'll do it for the 3rd quarter. We've got 15 minutes remaining in what is turning out to be a very, very good and typical Apple Cup. This is Apple Cup 87.
Finding the right gift is easy with these ideas inside the newest holiday circular from True Value hardware stores. Like the First Alert lamp timer for just $9.99. This Snap-It Power Command light system is only $19.99. Get the Black & Decker Flame Buster smoke alarm for just $14.99 and their Flame Buster Halon fire extinguisher for only $19.99 at participating True Value hardware stores. And tell them Pat Summerall sent you.
Now's the time to get terrific savings on hundreds of great holiday gift ideas at the Fred Meyer Seasons Preview Home and Gift Sale. Drive warmer this winter with cozy Sagaz lamb's wool seat covers for $24.95 each. After rebate, $19.95. The cook on your list will enjoy this chef's quality 10-piece kitchen knife set for $14.99. And brighten up your kids' faces this holiday season with an action freestyle scooter for $49.97. Come in and save now on your holiday gift list at the Fred Meyer Seasons Preview Home and Gift Sale.
Apple Cup 87 is being brought to you in part by First Interstate Bank. We'll do everything we can to make you a loan. And by Jacobson's Boats and Motors, your Johnson Outboard Boston Whaler dealer.
Back at Husky Stadium, fourth quarter about to begin. Washington leading 14-13. They have not scored in the second half. The reception by Victor Wood. The hands are under it. Let's look from behind, from the end zone.
Well, that's a catch.
Unless it goes in between his hands and his hands are surrounding it, but you've got to call that a catch. And the Cougars are driving. 1st and 10 from the 25. Broussard back into the game after being banged up. Getting near the 20-yard line, about 21.
Wrapped up and still has those feet moving.
Gets 4. It reminds me of A.J. Foyt, who talked about how many times he's come to a halt in a race car upside down, and he's still got his right foot on the brake pumping like mad, trying to stop the car, and he's upside down. Just the opposite for this man. He's down, but the legs are still moving. Look at that. Second down and 6. A Husky getting his hands on it. Again, Marty Harrison. Richard Calvin was the intended receiver. Marty, tall ball player, by the way.
What is he, 6'5"?
6'5", 228. Lean, tall.
Tim Rosenbaugh looking downfield and then immediately goes outside. Didn't really give the play time to develop, and Marty Harrison read that, so he stopped his pass rush because he could see the lineman coming out to block, so he knew a screen was coming his way. That's just good play recognition.
3rd down and 6. Calvin goes in motion. Quarterback, lots of room for Rosenbaugh to the 10, to the 5, the 4-yard line. That was a beautiful call. He had the defense strung out to the other side and simply goes with a quarterback draw. Was that a pre-called play or was it an audible?
I think he just felt so much room right there because he went back to pass, and you can usually tell that when he just senses all that green right there, knows how much he needs for the first down, because you don't go back with that kind of intensity trying to throw the football when it's a quarterback draw. You're so anxious to run, but he's just looking downfield and senses all that openness in front of him.
Utley doing a good job blocking. Now they go to the right side. Touchdown. Calvin's in there. Oh, let's wait. No official call yet. Nope, they're saying he's not in there.
Get out of there, Richard.
Our mistake.
Don't get a personal foul.
That was almost one of those Arizona games when the quarterback went for 2.
Boy, it looked like his shoulder pads hit in the end zone. The official saying that
the ball didn't cross the plane.
Didn't break the plane.
That's what Richard is saying. 2nd and goal from the 1.
Look
Cougars.
at this gold dust on my jersey. What do you mean I wasn't in there?
Rosenbaugh punches it in himself. And the Cougars have the lead.
And look at the end zone erupt.
Well, as you look around this stadium, you start to realize that a lot of Cougar fans got their hands on some Husky tickets today.
That's where an enlarged stadium maybe can backfire on you. Cougars with the lead, 19-14. And it looks like they will go for 2 to get the obvious spread, make it 21-14.
He read the article that Dick Rockney from the Seattle Times wrote.
Rosenbaum. David Rill knocks it away and finally is picked off by one of the Huskies. I thought that was still going to end up in the hands of a Cougar. Art Malone finally seals it with the hands. Let's look at the touchdown again as Rosenbaum leaps over the line.
You see the ball break the plane, and then Tim gets rejected.
Boy, that and not much more. Let's go to a break. 13-20, fourth quarter. Cougars on top by 5.
You'll find low prices on over 1,400 tools and accessories at your Fred Meyer Home Improvement and Garden Center. Whether you're working on a professional job or around the house, you can choose the tool that's exactly right. You can drill, grind, and polish with the Dremel Deluxe Moto Tool, now $69.97. For fine cuts, get the Dremel 15-inch scroll saw sander, also $69.97. And save on Glidden's Best Paint, Spread Supreme. Matte, satin, and gloss finish are on sale. Now at all Fred Meyer Home Improvement and Garden Centers.
What's all the excitement at your Chevy dealers? It's Chevy National Pickup Month. Come see new option packages for $1988 that can save you up to $1,900 on Chevy S10 pickups. And take the test drive of the decade in the advanced new full-size Chevy. The first all-new full-size pickup introduced in this decade. See your Chevy dealer now during Chevy National Pickup Month. Everybody else is.
As Washington State prepares to kick off, one thing we should think about, Keith and Sam, is that the Huskies have had a horrible time this year trying to come back.
Well, Washington State has to realize that now that they have the lead, their job is not over, because Washington is very capable of coming back, and Kerry Conklin would love to put his mark on the Husky football program.
Again, they keep it on the ground. Squib kick as one of the up men, that being number 43, who is Mark Jones, carrying the ball. So the ball's marked on the 34-yard line. And now the Huskies offense with a huge challenge. They trail, and Kerry Conklin has most of that weight on his shoulders.
Exactly.
Well, the Husky offense has to be fresh because the Husky defense has been on the field seemingly all day long.
Well, they have not been able to sustain a drive. They're going to have to try to do what Don talked about earlier, was a little bit of their variation of ground chuck.
First and 10 from the 34, and the time remaining. Option pitch. Weathersby to the 40. First down Washington as he gets out to the 46-yard line. Well executed play. Here it is.
Kerry Conklin is doing an outstanding job of running the option and taking the hit and pitching at the last minute. By doing so, what that does is allow the defense to continue to pursue. He draws them to him, and then that gives Vince Weathersby, or the pitch man, running room.
Slater with a good block as well. First and 10. Ball on the 46. On the rollout. That one got away from him. He was trying to hit Aaron Jenkins, number 29. He had a couple people open. So it'll be second down and 10. Huskies running into a problem they had against UCLA last week, and that's coming up with some offensive production after halftime. And the disparity right now for Washington in terms of yardage.
And Kerry Conklin has not enjoyed the success that he had in that first outing, and now it's starting to get to him, and he's starting to aim the football and not throw it naturally like he's capable of doing.
Second down and 10. Goes to the tight end, Scott Jones. First down, Washington. He got it down to the 42.5-yard line of Washington State. Brian Ford bumps him out of bounds. Gain of 11 yards.
In watching Kerry Conklin throw that time, the difference is he hits his back foot and guns it. If he has time to set up, he has a tendency to take and then take a false step and then wind up and throw the football. That time, because the receiver was open so quickly, he had to hit plant and throw, and that's when he is most successful.
First and 10 from the 43 of Washington State. Cougars lead it. Again, the pitch, we've seen this 3 times, the 3rd time today, and it looks like another first down for Washington. We've seen a pitch like that many times, but not from that position, lining up Weathersby over the tackle instead of the eye.
Well, they're trying to do it because they want to get outside quickly, because Washington State takes their outside linebacker and puts him inside. So the tackle, watch Rick McLeod, and then you see Jeff Palcoa come in and hook the guard, which allows Vince around the short lane to turn the ball up the field.
Another coach who uses that very successfully in small college ball is Frosty Westering down at Pacific Lutheran. They call it the quick pitch, and the guard and tackle both pull, and the tight end comes down.
And there's the counter off of it.
And he got it away. There goes Jenkins. Touchdown, Washington. Aaron Jenkins.
They lined up in that same formation. Vince Weathersby cheated to the wide side of the field. Kerry Conklin just reverses out, fakes the toss, gets the defense flowing that way, then turns and hands it to Aaron Jenkins.
And is barely able to make the exchange. Again, this you play off of the previous play. Here's the previous one on the sweep by Weathersby.
The quick pitch, and Vince had lined up wide, cheated.
Huskies will now go for 2 after the touchdown. So both coaches rolling the dice a bit, trying to change that number combination. No! Scott Jones couldn't hold on. Artie Holmes defending. And the score will be 20-19. Huskies on top.
This is a 2-point conversion, and Kerry guns it in. Scott had the ball in, and he threw it so hard it just went right through.
Here's
there
the
you
counter.
see the toss sweep. You saw the sucker play. The offensive line pull like they're going on the sweep. The defense has to react, and then that creates a huge hole for Aaron Jenkins to go in. Even Don Poier could run through that one.
No comment. This is Apple Cup 87.
Paramount Pictures presents Steve Martin.
I was on my way home to spend a nice holiday. Instead, I'm in a motel bed with a stranger.
John Candy.
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones.
In a new comedy by John Hughes.
You're going the wrong way! What?
Are you mad at me? Planes, trains, and automobiles. Rated R. Starts Wednesday, November 25th at a theater near you.
I'd like to open a savings account.
Hey, that's great. You know, it's forward-thinking people like you who make this bank what it is. Here, have a free toaster.
Does your bank look at you differently when you deposit money than when you ask for money?
I'd like to borrow some money.
Are you sure you need this money?
Well,
Have you ever been arrested?
Well...
Would you submit to a lie detector test? You ever had a tax audit?
What?
Do you smoke?
Next time,
But
come to
when was
First
your last
Interstate
physical?
Bank. We'll
Any
never
history
give
of
you the
illness?
bumps rush.
Come on, buddy.
First Interstate Bank. We'll do everything we can to make you a loan.
The Seahawks meet Denver on Sunday, December 13th. You won't see the game on 4, 5, or 7, but you will see the game on Channel 13. Plan now to join us.
3 first downs in 5 plays on the scoring drive by Washington, and they now have a 1-point lead. The touchdown again to Jenkins.
Boy, and Vince does a great job of selling that sweep to get the defense to move. And then Aaron Jenkins turns on the jet. And what a year he's had.
On the kickoff, it's Calvin to the 10 and the 17-yard line. Eugene Burkhalter on the tackle. Taking only a minute and a half and 5 plays. As we said, 3 first downs in those 5, eating up 66 yards. And Jenkins with the 32-yarder. Jenkins is really blossoming here in the last few games as a running back and a fullback for Don James. And Kerry Conklin got to be happy to be back in the lead.
And the crowd is now starting to get involved in the football game. It's been a very quiet crowd.
On 1st and 10, they go with the dive, and we've got a flag down right in the middle of the heap. Possible face mask. Brian Abebe made the tackle. Let's call it a hold. This is a delayed broadcast, but in case you've been out working in the yard, and I don't know how, it's so cold today. UCLA in the 3rd quarter leading Southern Cal 13-3. as Tim Rosenbaugh takes the signal from the sidelines.
Looking on the right side, you see center Paul Wolf. No, there it is. Looks
Mr.
like
Utley.
Mike Utley, that left arm.
Now it's clear back on the 8-yard line of Washington State.
We mentioned out cutting grass. You know, Jim Walden had something, and the whole city of Spokane's going to write me letters, but Jim Walden said that one of his major gripes, of course, was Spokane. And it's because they were all out cutting grass or sleeping in on weekends.
First and 19 for Rosenbaum, the Cougars. Crowd, as Sam says, beginning to warm up a bit. Just under 12 minutes remaining. Cougars down by 1. Willie gets back in time. No flag. Rosenbaum to the left side. Over the hands. Interception. Eugene Burkhalter. He could go all the way. Goodbye. A 28-yard interception and the touchdown. Eugene Burkhalter, the true freshman out of Long Beach, California, with his first interception, and my, what a way to do it, come up with a touchdown as well.
And this ball kind of gets away from Tim Rosenbaugh. Instead of gunning it in the seam right there, he floats it, and it's too high for Tim Stallworth. He makes a great effort, tips the ball up to Eugene Burkhalter, who goes in untouched.
Brownlee with a point after, and it's good. 11:30 remaining in the fourth quarter, and Washington with a big takeaway leads it 27-19. This is Apple Cup 87.
Gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. That being so stated, on to the job at hand. Please take note. Listen carefully. To begin,
Every one of these executives flew to this important business meeting on a different airline, sampling various meals, beverages, onboard services, and other amenities. Can you find the one executive that flew here on Alaska Airlines?
Divide the whole quantity by...
No, dear. The IRAs are over there, next to hosiery.
Have you noticed how almost everyone these days is selling financial services?
Now, would you like a lottery ticket? A money market account?
Please hold for Mr. Westfall.
Yes, I'd like to talk to you about your financial security.
Now it's more important than ever to find an advisor you can trust. Call Metropolitan Savings and get started on a solid investment base.
We talk about memories in this series. Eugene Burkhalter certainly has one now with a 30-yard pass interception for a touchdown, Sam.
Tim Rosenbaugh just going back. He's got Tim Stallworth is open over the middle, but he floats the ball. You see it going through the air. Tim just tries to come down with it, but he tipped it right to Eugene Burkhalter, who was in perfect position. And I don't think that'll be the last time that's his interception that he scores a touchdown on.
Highly, highly touted freshman coming in. And we remember 1982 when Jim Walden knocked off then 5th-ranked Washington and knocked them out of the Rose Bowl. Randy Brownlee using a little wind, able to knock it into the Cougar band. So back to the 20-yard line. The Cougars will start trailing 27-19. Attendance today, it was projected as a sellout, and they've got it. A new record here in Husky Stadium with the new addition. It's over 74,000.
Where are they fitting them?
I'm not sure.
I thought it only sat 72 or 79.
A lot of security today, Keith.
Something like that.
72-5.
First and 10 to go to Calvin. Oh, what a lick. Marty Harrison and Calvin hitting hard. I'm not sure who won. I think maybe Calvin. 3-yard gain.
But look at the magnitude of those hits and the intensity that has picked up in that defense. That Eugene Burkhalter interception has really lit a fire under this Washington defense. Now, if Washington State cannot answer, I think the ball game is going to be over.
It's 2nd down and 7. 3 wide to the left. On On the counter, not much. Short of the first down. David Rill knocks him OB. He picked up 3, so it'll be 3rd down and approximately 4 yards.
Don James getting superb performances from his punt team today and his defense. They put 14 points on the board. Much needed in the absence of a Chris Chandler.
More typical of a Husky team, really, in past years. 3rd and 3. Pressure. Incomplete. Chris Layton, the tight end, was the intended receiver for Rosenbaum. Time to punt. Still feel the same way, Sam?
I do. I think that Washington State, there's, Tim, his confidence is shaken a little bit now. He's trying to make things happen. He's bolting out of the pocket.
Rob Meyer back to punt. Only his 2nd punt today. And the first one we saw returned by DeMoy Williams. We got a flag down around the punter. And it looks like it'll be a call on Art Malone, who rushed Meyer on the punt. And obviously there was contact.
There was contact that a lot of fans are booing, but I think the reason the flag went down is because it presented a possible injury situation for the punter. He slid in underneath his leg.
Don James about 3 yards on the field. Can't believe it.
I was waiting to see the flag. I don't know. Did DeMoy Williams signal for a fair catch?
Well, the flag went down as soon as the punt went off. We just barely can see. Let's watch. Malone, number 4.
See, he's up in the air. A guy coming up underneath him and making contact, and the rule book states if you make contact, you got to throw the flag, and they're taking it to the extreme there.
New life for the Cougars as Calvin carries out to the 35 on first down, gain of roughly 4 yards. 10-17 remaining. 27-19 Washington. David Rill made the tackle on Calvin along with Travis Richardson, number 58. Calvin, number 22, with 143 yards today. Broussard, Huskies again trying to rip the ball loose. That time it was Lilo Lang taking a shot at the pig. Martin Harrison got the tackle, and he picked up 5. So it'll be 3rd and 1 for the Cougars.
And Washington State electing to run the football, try to get that ground game going again.
3rd and 1. 3 wide receivers left side, 1 to the right, and
John Husby
motion, and I thought Art Hunter was going to leap about 6 feet in the air there, playing the nose guard.
I don't think Art, that's physically impossible for him to leap 6 feet.
At 6'3", 255, it would be quite a feat.
Illegal procedure, offense.
So it's now 3rd and 6 for the Cougars. Boy, that's got to hurt. It takes you out of your short game. Now you got to spread it out.
Now you go with the 4 wide package again.
3rd and 6 from the Cougar 35. We're under 10 minutes. Quick drop. Calvin. He saw number 6 coming in and just couldn't find a handle in time, and he also knew where the marker was for a first down. A lot of things to think about at one time.
And that is that zone defense. Washington making the adjustment to play the back, keep the back in front of you. Tim Rosenbaum just dumps it, but Lilo Lang is going to stop Richard Calvin short of the first down no matter what.
Meyer back to punt. No flags this time. Punts it away from DeMoy Williams. And comes to rest at the 34-yard line. So the Huskies now hoping to eat up some time with 9 minutes remaining in the 4th quarter. And they have an 8-point lead. Rob Meyer does his job. Came in averaging 38 yards per boot. Don James hoping to make it 10-3 against the Cougs in his tenured Washington. last year. The Huskies with a 44-23 victory. That was the Brian Slater, Chris Chandler show. 1st and 10 from the 35. Keeping it inside. Jenkins carried. Let's go back and look at the last 2 Husky scores. Jenkins, first of all, on the counter play, Sam.
The counter, toss sweep, hands back to Aaron Jenkins, who turns on the Jets once he gets to the sideline and just goes into the end zone.
And the last touchdown, the interception by Burkhalter, the freshman out of Long Beach.
Catching the deflection by Tim Stallworth and then going into the end zone untouched. Wonder if he kept that football.
2nd down and 9. Looks like another 1st down for Washington as James Compton carries. That's about his longest run of the year.
Can't keep that football, Sam. It's an NCAA rules violation.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And I take it back on Compton. His longest run of the year is 14 yards. But he did get the 1st down. And that's been a problem plaguing the Cougs all year.
And James Compton has really filled the void in that Husky offense that Rick Finney left. And he's kind of built in the same mold.
From the 45, it's 1st and 10. Down to 7:56 remaining. Again, the counter. Compton. Now he has his longest run of his career. All the way down to the 25. Call it the 27 of Washington State.
Boy.
Compton, the redshirt freshman out of Bandar, Texas, picks up 28.
And Kerry Conklin did a great job. Watch him just barely get that off. Tony Savage has him by the shoulder pads, and Kerry on the way down gives the ball off to James Compton. Nice play.
He had Tony Savage on his back when he made the handoff to Jenkins for the touchdown on the same play.
Exactly.
1st and 10 from the 27 of the Cougars. This time the draw to Weathersby. Flag down after Weathersby scissors his way through the secondary down to the 9-yard line, but hold on. A Husky may have held on.
You're exactly right.
Forget a 17-yard run by V-Dub. Check out the right guard, possibly.
So Jeff Palcoa on Tony Savage.
And left guard. Lutu was the right guard. 7:24 remaining.
Artie Holmes made that last tackle. Boy, it's not a good sign, Sam, as you often say, that when your 3rd leading tackler is your free safety.
That means there's not too many people stopping them up front.
Total defense, Washington State 9th in the Pac-10, as well in rushing defense. 1st and 20 after the holding call. Weathersby gets a couple down to the 35 of Washington State.
Washington State is getting more and more aggressive now. That time they brought the free safety up to the line of scrimmage, came with an all-out blitz.
And he made the tackle, Vernon Todd, who's a JC transfer out of San Jose Community College.
And if he misses that tackle, it's off to the races for V-Dub because there was nobody past the line of scrimmage.
Slater to the left, Franklin to the right. That's it for wide receivers. Conklin feeling a little bit of heat, and that one gets away from him. Looking for Scott Jones, the tight end. Like I said, he had Tony Savage and a couple of other people heading for his backside and front side.
And one thing that Kerry is finding out that the pace is a little bit different in a ball game. You know, you get a lot of practice time working with the 1st unit, working with the 2nd unit. But what happens is when you get in game situations, it's just one step quicker. So you got to plant and throw. And he feels that rush. He feels Hiller from the backside. So he rolls out of the pocket, and then boom, Brian Ford and Chris Hiller just high-low him.
Washington has called a timeout with 6:30 remaining. They're looking at a 3rd down and 18 situation.
But Don James did not want to spend that timeout. He was waiting for his coaching staff to make some kind of decision as to what play to run on this 3rd and 18 situation. They let the 30-second clock run all the way down to 13 before they could even get a play start to signal that play in. And finally, Coach James just said, call timeout. Let's get this taken care of.
Dennis Brown came into this game, when you tend to look at certain records when you play a last regular season game. He had 91 yards in tackles for losses, that being Dennis Brown of the Huskies. The record for a single season is 98 yards in lost yardage. Ronnie Holmes set that record. And I say that because Dennis Brown has been compared to Ronnie Holmes since the day he stepped on campus last spring, or a year ago last spring, as a true freshman. Graduated from high school early. But already he is starting to show some numbers and put some numbers on the board that are comparable to some awfully good defensive linemen.
Exactly.
For rushing, Washington began to pick it up, especially after the runs by Weathersby and then Jenkins on that touchdown here in the second half. And in passing, Conklin and Chandler especially in the early going, very effective. And for the afternoon still, Washington State with a big lead. Third down and 18 for Conklin. Weathersby's got the first down at the 15-yard line. What did they come up with, Sam? Some sort of isolation for Weathersby?
No, they came with the blitz, and when you come with the blitz, rather than play pass defense, Washington State chose to be aggressive, come with the blitz to put the pressure on Kerry Conklin. The offensive line came through, gave him time, and when you blitz, you have man-on-man coverage. You see Artie Holmes trying to pick up V-Dub and chasing him. V-Dub just flat out runs him, gets the first down.
21 yards. Conklin to Weathersby. 1st and 10 from the 15 of Washington State. Jenkins fighting his way down to the 5, close to another first down. Vernon Todd, the free safety on the tackle with Ivan Cook, number 76. Clock continuing to wind down. 5:40 remaining in the game. A 9-yard gain by Jenkins. And this one could be a mighty big nail in that coffin if they were to score here. Chandler on the sidelines watching the newest of Husky quarterbacks to take over. Weathersby, what a move as he lets the pursuit go on downstream, and he simply walks in from there.
And you see Jeff Woodruff holding up one finger. That doesn't mean he doesn't think that they're number one. He's just saying we're only going for 1 point on this conversion.
A nifty move by Weathersby, hesitating just a moment to let the pursuit go on by, and then he trotted right into the end zone.
Watch Vince really sell the outside, get the defense moving, and then all of a sudden put the brakes on. They got James Hasty and Artie Holmes to overrun it, and then there was no inside pursuit.
Brownlee with another PAT, and with 5:15 remaining, it's Washington spreading it out 34-19. This is Apple Cup 87.
Hi, I'm Lenny Wilkins for All-American North Seattle Chrysler Plymouth. The all-new Chrysler LeBaron Coupe has stirred a lot of attention in the past few months. We're offering the LeBaron Coupe with sleek styling and sport handling for as low as $179 per month. And we've got over 40 to choose from. LeBaron Coupe, backed by our 7-year, 70,000-mile warranty, and available now at North Seattle Chrysler Plymouth, Washington's most awarded dealer, 137th and Aurora Avenue North.
If you've always felt that driving a car should be more than simply a way of getting from one place to another, we have a suggestion we'd like to run by you.
Test drive the 944 series at your Puget Sound Porsche Connection.
Time remaining here on this gloomy afternoon in Seattle. Washington with that touchdown by Weathersby, and Brownlee kick goes again back into the Cougar band, so Victor Wood will line up on the 20 along with the offensive unit with 5:16 remaining. 3 minutes and 44 seconds on the 65-yard drive, and Weathersby with a 6-yarder. His second rushing touchdown of the year. But again, as Sam pointed out, he's not in there in that short yardage power offensive lineup when they go to the full house tee, the Huskies. So not as many opportunities as in the past. On 1st and 10, Rosenbach looking for help and is unable to get back completely to the line of scrimmage. Marty Harrison again, who has been a real pest with Rosenbach today, knocks him down for a loss of 1.
Boy, and Bob Willig was the guy who just got blocked by Chris Dyko. He got knocked on his back and then just laid there for a minute and then realized Tim Rosenbach was still running around.
That was sack number 4 for the Huskies. 2nd and 11. Incomplete. As they went to Michael Wimberly, a backup wide receiver.
He sort of sense a lack of concentration on the Cougar offense's part right now. Wimberly went to line up on the wrong side. Rosenbach had to tell him to get over here.
Well, he doesn't know where he's at right now. He's just so excited to be between the sidelines.
4:35 remaining on 3rd and 11. Rosenbach now with time. He'll do it himself. Needs to get to the 30, and he only makes it to the 27, 28-yard line. It'll be 4th down. And now your defense will go ahead and spread out when you see an offense do what they have done, because it's basically prevent defense time for Washington.
That's exactly right. And as that clock winds down, we're running down to 4 minutes left in this ball game.
And I can honestly say this is the first game we've called from Husky Stadium this year where my feet are numb. Boy.
Put a little Tabasco between your toes.
They're going to go for it on 4th and 3. Nearly intercepted by Lilo Lang, who already has 1 interception today. So the Huskies will take over with obviously outstanding field position. Intended receiver was Tim Stallworth. 3:50 remaining.
Tim Rosenbach is not pleased.
He's been sacked 4 times today. Suffered an interception for a touchdown, a couple of others.
But
it's a tough offense. He's learning. Yeah, he'll be back for.
He will be back.
2 more years. I like him because he's such a good natural athlete. Now, if he can learn that Erickson offense and the decision making that goes with it when you have so many receivers, it's going to be just fine. This is Greg Lewis, the freshman for Washington. 3:43 remaining. And Lewis is a gentleman you'll see a lot of in the future, except he still has some underclassmen ahead of him in Weathersby and Jenkins, who are both back next year. And for the Huskies, if UCLA continues to win, can start thinking about Florida here pretty soon.
Exactly.
Florida in Hawaii.
They can think about going there with a bit of respect with a 6-4-1 record.
On 2nd down, Lewis got the speed to the 9-yard line. Let's see where they mark it. They go all the way down to about the 6.5-yard line. And Lewis showing you some of that speed that attracted Husky coaches when he played for Ingram High School here in Seattle.
And it was very unfortunate last week because he started the ball game. It was his very first start. You see Kerry Conklin come out, pitch the ball, but he fumbled on that very first carry and didn't see the field the rest of the day, and that has to destroy his confidence. This will bring his confidence back.
That 19-yarder will certainly help.
Why didn't they put him back in the game, Sam, when it was out of reach last week?
I don't know.
Full house. 1st and goal from the 6. Slid by that one real well, Sam.
Well, you know,
you're the analyst. You're the expert.
Every time I've guessed on Don James this year, I've been wrong. I've heard he was conservative, so I go with the conservative, and he always comes up and pulls something wild out.
Compton for 3 yards.
Well, the Independence Bowl was here scouting today. The Aloha Bowl was not. They do not scout football games. They'll simply send their representative to sign the documents. They'll be here tomorrow.
That is Jeff Paukoa, the freshman guard, with what looks to be a shoulder, possibly a stinger, or we don't know. We'll have to find out after the game. He's had a bad shoulder. That's why he couldn't start against UCLA. 3:01 remaining in Apple Cup 87. On 2nd and goal from the 4, Lewis. And 3 Cougars were waiting for him. Artie Holmes, James Hasty, the first to get there. It'll be 3rd down. Huskies trying to widen the gap now. Ricky Meyer in there, one of the backup fullbacks. And for Dennis Erickson, it's time to brush off the passport and head for Tokyo.
That is going to be one long trip.
Oh. 2nd down, check that, 3rd down. From the 3, Conklin, no. James Hasty, Keith Rice holding him up. It's 4th down, 4th and goal from the 1-yard line, just beyond the 1. And they're going for it.
Washington State's Maury Metcalf did an outstanding job of playing defense that time, forcing Kerry Conklin to keep the football and turn it up because he took away the pitch man.
From the 1. Not this time, as Alapate was all over Conklin as they tried to, it appears, establish the option. And a great play by Tanao Alapate.
He came blitzing through, not allowing the play to develop. Didn't allow Kerry to get to the end man on the line of scrimmage.
When you're a linebacker, you've got about that long to make a decision, and you got to live with your decision. Go, right?
Especially in that territory.
Yeah, when you're in short yardage like that.
Cougars will try to regroup here in Seattle. They're not going to go back to Pullman. They're going to spend tomorrow and Monday practicing out at Highline Stadium in Burien. Then they'll board that Silver Bird to Tokyo on Tuesday.
Richard Calvin getting out to the 13-yard line.
Can you imagine being a 22-year-old college football team or a 19-year-old walking into a foreign country to play a game which nobody has a concept about?
Well, actually, they're getting pretty used to it now. They've had that Japan Bowl and then the All-Star game, so the fans are, it's kind of like London, England. They're becoming quite the experts.
They'll form a new league.
Incomplete. Yeah, the Pacific 10, literally. Bill Pelham, the intended receiver. So it's 3rd down and 1. Swinton coming into the game. The Huskies, if all goes well in Los Angeles, will start practices probably in a week or so, couple of weeks, and be in Honolulu for the Aloha Bowl. Take on Florida. 3rd down, Rosenbaum. Lilo Lang
is still going for
he's
it.
Still trying. Down on his back and still wrestling with Swinton. 49 seconds left on the clock.
Washington State in their 2-minute offense, just trying to, the clock will start when the chains are set.
On 1st down. Rosenbaum to the 15, the 20, the 25. Depending where they mark it, he could have a 1st down. Looks like he does.
I think he does have the 1st down.
Standing up a little bit, talking with Dennis Erickson now.
In the 4th quarter, UCLA 13, USC 10.
4th quarter now, 15-10 UCLA, and again we're on delayed broadcast throughout the state, but that one is getting tighter.
And of course, a USC loss, or rather a USC victory, sends the Bruins to the Aloha Bowl.
Exactly.
And the Trojans to the Rose.
Screen to Broussard. To the 31-yard line. Clock will continue to roll. That was on 1st down. 25 seconds remaining, and they stopped the clock, the Cougars.
But you got to give Mike Lute credit for the Huskies even being on anybody's bowl wish list after the way they played last week against UCLA.
What's the key play in this game, the second half? The Burkhalter interception or the touchdown before? That was the killer?
The Burkhalter interception, because they could still answer. You know, you're in a 1-point ball game.
20-19 then, right.
Then exactly, boom. That's a knife in the heart right there, because it was such a quick score. And then Tim came out and then was a little bit hesitant, lost his confidence a little bit, and then started aiming the football and wasn't throwing it as crisp as he was in the first half.
Brian Habib and Chris Chandler talking it over, a couple of seniors who have just played in their last game in Husky Stadium. 25 seconds left on the clock. And it's 2nd down and 7. 3 wide receivers to the left. Familiar pattern for today. We've seen it. Lilo Lang gets his 2nd interception. And now it's find a block. It's down to the 48 of Washington State with 13 seconds remaining. A little argument now between Rosenbaum and number 52 of Washington, Dan Kahn.
It's also not a good sign when your wide receivers are starting to lead the club in tackles. They've had that happen a few times this year.
Tim is
very animated.
He was animated, to say the least.
Offense, dead ball.
Maybe on Rosenbaum.
Defense.
Okay, both
penalties
ways.
are declined. First down.
I never understand that. Why waste the time? Save yourself the energy of throwing the flag if you're not going to move the football anywhere.
Well, that way the coaches have something to go on film sessions on Monday.
Rosenbaum suffering 4 interceptions today, 2 by Lilo Lang. This last one, however, being thrown up for grabs, let's face it.
Yeah, and he got high-load real bad on that play.
Tarn Sablé at quarterback for Don James.
His last ball game as a Husky.
That's right. And he hands off to Ricky Meyer, the fullback. That more than likely is going to do it. So for Don James, he will be 10-3 against Washington State. He picks up victory, number 68, only 2 away from becoming the all-time winningest coach in the Pac-10 against Pac-10 competition. And Dennis Erickson, he has many, many Apple Cups ahead of him. Very popular coach, well-liked by his colleagues around the Pac-10 and the country, for that matter. So that's the final, 34-19. Washington taking the victory, and this is Apple Cup 87.
Last weekend, November 23rd at 8 p.m., my Port of Tacoma Furniture Warehouse will be closed forever, and this is the final weekend. Prices are negotiable. Any reasonable offer will be accepted. Come down, make us a fair offer, and haul it away. Sofa sleepers as low as $288. Take I-5 to exit 136, Port of Tacoma, 3 lights on the left. You can't miss us. This sale is over at 8 p.m. November 23rd. Everything has to be sold. Furniture for half price at the Port of Tacoma today, closed permanently November 24th.
The following are proud supporters of Husky Athletics. Brooks Biddle Chevrolet in Low Overhead Bothell. Vitamilk Dairy Products. Vita-Rich Ice Cream Company, quality always. McPherson's Realty. QFC, Quality Food Centers. Worthington Insurance, Rusty Young, President. Ackerley Communications Incorporated. Alpac Corporation, Pepsi-Cola 7-Up Bottling Company. Western Craft Paper Group. Seattle Packaging Corporation, Kaplan Paper Company. Parker Smith and Feek Incorporated. Pacific Coca-Cola Bottling Company. Enjoy Coca-Cola Classic in Diet Coke. Associated Grocers Incorporated. Anthony's Homeport Restaurants. Sunstrand Data Control. Sureguard Storage Centers. Bellevue Hilton Hotel. Derigold Incorporated. American Building Maintenance. Washington Athletic Club. Gay's Seattle French Baking Company. Sellon Construction Company Incorporated. Lippman's. Acme Food Sales Incorporated. For fine dining in Bellevue, Tacoma, and Spokane, CI Shenanigans. All proud supporters of Husky Athletics.
A new way to shop and save has come to Benson Plaza in Renton. It's the new Renton Fred Meyer, and the grand opening celebration is going on now. Come take a look. You'll find beautiful jewelry and fashion-right clothes for the whole family. Great ideas for home improvement and home entertainment. Fresh deli foods, European-style baked goods, and much more. And now, during the grand opening celebration, you'll enjoy great music, exciting contests, and low prices throughout the store at your beautiful new Renton Fred Meyer.
It's all over the 80th Apple Cup here in Husky Stadium. For the first time since 1982, a home team has finally taken one. 1982, back when Walden defeated the Huskies 24-20. A couple of comments. We'll take a look at these Husky touchdowns that took place in the second half that really broke the backs of the Cougars. First, the counter by Aaron Jenkins.
And this was a key play right here because it was a time where Washington State had just taken the lead. Big Mo was on their side of the field, and then the Washington Huskies answered that touchdown and came back and took a lead 21-20.
Jenkins' 5th rushing touchdown of the year. Then the interception by Eugene Burkhalter, the freshman, and coming up with a touchdown as well, a 30-yarder.
This is the killer right here. This is the one that put the icing on the cake and made Washington State adjust their offensive game plan, pull in the reins a little bit, and Tim kind of lost his confidence as a quarterback.
Icing on the cake, you're on the all cliche team.
Yeah, I know that.
Here's the icing right here. That was the killer. This is the icing as Weathersby is able to cut against the pursuit and simply stroll on in to the end zone. And that gave you the final 34-19. So final comments in just a moment. This is Apple Cup 87.
I'd like to open a savings account. Hey, that's great. You know, it's forward-thinking people like you who make this bank what it is. Here, have a free toaster.
Does your bank look at you differently when you deposit money than when you ask for money?
I'd like to borrow some money. Are you sure you need this money? Well, Have you ever been arrested? Well... Would you submit to a lie detector test? You ever had a tax audit? What? Do you smoke?
Next time, come to First Interstate Bank. We'll never give you the bumps rush.
Come on, buddy.
First Interstate Bank. We'll do everything we can to make you a loan.
In the beginning, flying was a real adventure. And on many airlines, it still is. But at Alaska Airlines, we go out of our way to make sure getting there is just as pleasant as being there.
For the record, Washington now 6-4-1 in 1987. The Cougars at 3-7 with a date with California in Tokyo in a week. And gentlemen, final comment.
Well, we talked so much about emotion coming into this game. Well, the emotion gets to reside within those that wear purple and gold for another year.
Sam?
I think it was a great ball game. First half, the intensity was high, and I think through the second half, and then when Washington finally put it away. Also want to thank the Washington Sports Information Department for all year long a great job of filling us in. We've really enjoyed all their help.
I'll echo that.
Me too, to say the least. Chuck Niemeyer, and Don Mucci, Chip, all the guys, thanks so much. You've
and
really
Cindy, don't forget Cindy.
And Cindy, and also Gene Granger, who has since gone on to greater things. Okay, well, that's going to do it. For Keith Shipman, Sam Adkins, I hope you've enjoyed our delayed broadcast this year, especially here on the west side of the mountains. I'm Don Poier, and we'd like to show you some of the people that have made this broadcast possible, and our thanks to them. And for our producer, Steve Woodruff. Nice job, Woody. See you in 1988.